Chapter 935. No, Unrighteous. Jiu Yundong and Chen Liang looked at each other before walking up the stairs. The moment she went up, it was instantly quiet below. Then, everybody heard her clear voice. The road I want to build is indeed a main road. At the very least, it can accommodate 2 carriages to pass through at the same time. Therefore, it won't be fixed on the original road. It will be a new one from the foot of the mountain to the village entrance. Everyone was stunned. A new one. Someone was dissatisfied. The road from the foot of the mountain to the entrance of the village had nothing to do with them. They didn't pass by there when they left the village. Some people quickly realized that the Jiu family's house was at the foot of the mountain. Wasn't this convenient for her family? What kind of benevolence was this? Jiu Yundong listened to them. On the other hand, Chen Liang's forehead was covered in sweat. Damn it, he had been too full of himself just now. Unintentionally, he had set up a trap the Jiu girl. Jiu Yundong, on the other hand, was very calm. She knew Chen Liang's intentions. He wanted her to have a good reputation and increase her prestige. Jiu Yundong appreciated Chen Liang's kindness, but her thoughts were different from Chen Liang's. She did not need such prestige. In fact, such a reputation was a burden to her. Others would think that she had done a good deed and accept it as a matter of course. In the future, they would use other things to kidnap her morally. It was better to make everything clear. In any case, those who were smart would naturally be grateful to her when they experienced the benefits of the main road in the future. Those who wanted to take advantage of you and felt that you had not given them enough benefits would only push their luck and use your benevolence label to restrain you. Once you were a little unbenevolent, it would be wrong. Hence, she made it very clear. Since I'm the one paying to build the road, I'll naturally decide where it will be built. If I pay and work to build the road myself, and someone says that my horse shouldn't take that road and dirty the road, then I'm probably a fool, right? Someone laughed out loud. Many people knew who she was referring to. The woman who had been clamoring just now was furious, but she really did not dare to argue with her in front of Jiu Yundong. After all, Jiu Yundong's brutal manner of attacking without any explanation was too memorable. Jiu Yundong continued, I'm not afraid to make it clear. This road is built to make it more convenient to travel. Of course, I won't stop everyone from walking just because I paid to build the road. If everyone feels that it's more convenient to walk on the main road, then take the main road. If you feel that it's not time-consuming to walk on the small road, then take the small road. It's just an additional road that will make it more convenient for everyone to drive ox carts, donkey carts, and carriages in the future. Someone thought, hey, isn't that so? Our family is planning to buy an ox recently. It will definitely be comfortable to drag the cart on the main road in the future. That's true. In the past, when we were pulling the cart to transport food, we kept bumping obstacles on the village road. It was too strenuous. Then when I go to the foot of the mountain to pick up firewood in the future, won't I be able to carry it directly to the village entrance from the main road? Yundong, is the main road straight? Will it take many turns? Jiu Yundong replied with a smile, no, it's just a straight road. That's great. Heir, our family is planning to buy a donkey cart. With the main road, I won't have to worry about my driving skills being bad. The discussion below was turning for the better. Although there were still some voices that made people uncomfortable, Chen Liang still heaved a sigh of relief. Jiu Yundong waited for everyone to finish talking before continuing. Next, I need to hire 20 people to build the road. Anyone who is interested can sign up at the village chief's place. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 936. A letter hire? That was money. This was the real benefit that could be seen in front of him. Soon, the dissatisfied voices disappeared. Even the auntie who had been against Jiu Yundong from the beginning immediately wanted to sign up for her son. She could not wait to ask, how much is the salary for a day? However, Chen Liang also had a temper. She was the one who opposed most just now. Now, she still wanted to work. Dream on. He looked at the villagers and said, everyone, quiet down first. We have to make things here first. It's best if we finish building the road before the new year, so we want young and strong people who are diligent. Those who are too old or too little, don't come and join in the fun. It wasn't the time for farm work, and many people were resting at home. Some people went to town or county to do short-term jobs. However, it was not easy to find short-term jobs, so it was easy to find 20 young men in the village. Not long after, the village chief registered their names and told everyone that the salary for a day was 50 copper coins, no food included. Come everyone, work hard. The GU family isn't the only one who can take this road. Everyone in our village can take it. This is a road built for ourselves, so everyone has to perk up and build this road for me. Do you hear me?
I hear you.
Don't worry, village chief. We definitely won't be slacking. That's right, that's right. Our village is getting better and better. In the future, there will definitely be more and more ox carts. Everyone can use this road. Seeing that everyone had such an understanding, Chen Liang was relieved. He brought these 20 people to take a look at the positions and choose the leader. Unfortunately, Feng Daneng was not around. He was still renovating the houses in the prefectural city. Otherwise, it would be best for him to take the lead. However, there was also an experienced master who was good at building roads. It was the same for him to lead the way. Among these 20 people was He Shanchuan from the He family. There was nothing to do now. He Shanchuan originally wanted to enter the city to find work, but now that there was a job in the village, he did not have to make an extra trip. Gu Yundong did not care much about what happened next. On the road construction matter, Chen Liang was more concerned than her. He kept an eye on it early in the morning every day, as if he was afraid that something would happen. Fortunately, everyone was working hard and did not hesitate at all. Gu Yundong bought a lot of sand and stones and laid them flat on the ground. People wouldn't be afraid of mud on a rainy day. After building a part of the road, she specially let the carriage try it. As expected, it was much faster. After building the road for more than 20 days, it was almost done. At this moment, Gu Yundong received Xiao Qingyuan's letter. This letter was to inform her that he was safe. Xiao Qingyuan said that he had arrived in the capital and met Song Dajiang. The entire journey was safe. He ate and slept well. He remembered her words firmly in his heart without any illness or pain. Gu Yundong wanted to laugh when she read this, but the longing in her heart also spread. He had arrived in the capital so quickly, which meant that he must have been traveling at full speed. After reading the letter, she immediately picked up her brush and replied to him. She recounted what she had done these past few days and also told him about the road construction in the village. In the end, she wished him a happy new year in advance and told him to take care of himself and come back soon. Although they had been separated for a few days, it was quite interesting to have letters. Gu Yundong heaved a sigh of relief and felt much better. A month later, the road from the foot of the mountain to the entrance of the village was finally completed. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 937, Envious. Everyone in Yongfu village was overjoyed. No matter what, this was a road that belonged to their Yongfu village and could allow 2 carriages to pass. This road was built before the new year. It was just nice for the relatives who visited after the new year. Everyone was excited. Even the people who had muttered their dissatisfaction on the meeting were very proud, especially when they went to their relatives' and friends' houses. Everyone mentioned this road, making the villagers of the other villages jealous. On the day the road was completed, almost the entire village came out to take a walk on this road. However, Chen Liang stopped them. He bought firecrackers and placed them on a long bamboo pole. He got someone to light the primer and personally carried it all the way from the foot of the mountain to the entrance of the village. On this day, the entire Yongfu village was filled with joy, as if it was the new year in advance. Gu Yundong was also very happy. She took a lot of fruits and snacks for the jumping children to eat. Communka was very bold now. She swayed and actually wanted to follow behind Chen Liang to set off firecrackers. Gu Yundong was so frightened that she hurriedly carried her back. These firecrackers were blind. It would not be good if a child was injured. Many people from the neighboring village came to experience this main road. Even the workshop was suspended for 2 hours. Everyone came out to watch the fun. The main road was built outside their workshop. Wouldn't it be easier to commute in the future? Especially for the workers from other villages, they didn't have to worry about bumping into someone from the corner at night. They felt much safer. The main road was built, and many people were grateful to the Gu family. After all, it was really convenient. Furthermore, they could go to other villages to brag to others. The village chief of the neighboring village was so envious that his eyes turned red. Every time he met Chen Liang, he would be very unhappy when he saw the guy's smug expression. "You're just lucky. If the Gu family had settled in our village back then, you would be the one jealous of us now." Chen Liang snorted. Forget it, there was a big road in his village. He would be magnanimous and not argue with such a pitiful person. There were unexpectedly many people walking on this new road. On the third day, Gu Yundong also drove the carriage out of Yongfu village. It was almost the new year, and she planned to go to the county to buy things. Also, now that there were more people in the workshop, she had to buy New Year presents for everyone. The county city was lively again. The streets were filled with joy, and many stalls had already begun to sell couplets. Gu Yundong looked away. There were 3 scholars in her family now. It was easy for them to write couplets. Her father would be back in a few days. It would be the same if he wrote them then. As she thought about it, she decided to buy some red words. Tong Shuidao came out with her. The 2 of them parked the carriage at Gus and shopped. When it was almost noon and their hands were full, they returned to Gus and put the things in the carriage. Gu Yundong clapped her hands. "Let's go eat first. We'll continue watching after that." "Okay." The 2 of them were about to walk out when Zhuangzi hurriedly said, "Boss, you guys rest for a while. I'll go straight to Jinxiu restaurant and bring the food back. There's no need to trouble yourself." Gu Yundong nodded and Zhuangzi left in a hurry. After a while, a few voices suddenly came from the shop outside. Gu Yundong and Tong Shuidao looked at each other. It did not sound like Zhuangzi. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 938, Embezzlement. Gu Yundong lifted the curtain separating the shop and looked out. It was indeed not Zhuangzi's voice. At this moment, in the shop, other than the shop assistant, Chen Jinsai, there were 2 people standing in front of him. A man and a woman. Oh, and 2 familiar faces at that. Gu Yundong, who was about to go out, stopped in her tracks and looked at the situation in the shop silently. This man and woman were Chen Yulon and Wu Chong. The last time she heard from Nai Shuang and the others that these 2 people had appeared at Chen Liang's door, she told Chen Liang about the matter. Chen Liang snorted and said that he would pretend that he didn't know. After that, she didn't hear any news of the 2 of them going to the Chen family. She didn't expect them to come to Gus. Chen Yulon had a smile on her face. She looked at Chen Jinsai ingratiatingly. "Brother." Chen Jinsai frowned. "Why are you still here?" Updated by November G. Ko Wu Chong pursed his lips and didn't say anything. He stood at the side with his hands folded. Only Chen Yulon smiled dryly and said to Chen Jinsai, "Brother, have you considered what we talked about last time?" "Consider?" Chen Jinsai sneered. He felt that it was unbelievable. "I remember that I rejected you at that time. When did I say that I would consider?" "Big brother, don't say that. We really have no choice. The Wu family's shop doesn't have much business now. If this continues, it will close soon." The Wu family's shop was a small grocery store in town. It used to have a good business, so the Wu family always acted arrogantly. They looked down on country bumpkins like the Chen family. If Chen Jinsai hadn't been the manager of a workshop in town, he wouldn't have married Chen Yulon. But now, the grocery store's business was getting worse and worse. At the end of the day, it was also very related to the Chen family. Jingyuan town wasn't very big to begin with, and Nyodan's matter had caused a storm in the city. Even the families near the grocery store learned about this matter and knew that his mother had slandered Nyo Dan for stealing. News of this spread like wildfire. Not long after, the grocery store's business plummeted. Many people said that they did not dare to enter the shop to buy things, afraid that they would be slandered as thieves. As it happened, a few days ago, there was another grocery store that opened opposite was. That family was good at doing business. In contrast, almost no one entered the Wu family's shop. During this period of time, the Wu family had been eating their old money. They did not have any income from the shop, and the entire family was very worried. Then, they started to complain to each other. The house was in chaos every day. At this moment, Chen Yulon thought of the Chen family. "Brother, please help us. There are no shops in town who sell this kind of white sugar. If we get first place, our business will definitely improve. When the grocery store survives the crisis, we will definitely visit you personally to thank you, okay?" Chen Jinsai sneered. "Everyone is limited to 5 catties of white sugar a day at Gus. As long as you take the money, I can sell it to you." Chen Yulan's face stiffened. "Brother, are you kidding me? How can 5 catties be enough? Besides, the white sugar in your shop is too expensive. Can you sell it to us at a cheaper price? 50, 30 catties a day? I'll buy some delicious food for sister-in-law and nephew later, okay?" Chen Jinsai was so angry that he was about to laugh. "Okay, my ass. You have a good plan. 15 kilograms a day, and you want it to be cheaper? How are you so capable? Are you asking me to embezzle the goods in the shop? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 939, "You will be the shopkeeper." Chen Yulon laughed dryly. "Brother, don't say that. We're family. We're just helping each other. Brother, I'm your biological sister. If you don't help me, I really won't be able to live." As she spoke, sadness welled up in her heart. Tears were about to fall. "Biological sister? You still have the cheek to say that. Back then, when Nyo Dan was slandered by your mother-in-law, why didn't you say that we were biological siblings? When my father came to seek an explanation, you still kept slandering Nyo Dan. Why didn't you say that we were biological siblings? Let me tell you, our families have long-cut ties. Let alone biological siblings, we won't even be strangers in the future." For a moment, Chen Yulon was embarrassed by his scolding. Her face turned pale, and there was a faint anger rising in her. However, when she thought of her current situation, she suppressed it ruthlessly. On the other hand, Wu Chong, who had been silent all this while, snorted coldly and said to Chen Yulon, "I knew it was useless to beg him, but you just didn't listen and insisted on coming over to get scolded. Don't you see that He's just a small shop assistant? He's just an errand boy who carries goods. There's a rascal shopkeeper above him. What can he do? What dare he do?" Chen Jinsai suddenly looked at him. "Yes, you're right. I'm just a little buddy. I can't do anything. So please don't come to my door again in the future. Hurry up and leave. Get lost. Get lost. Don't appear in front of me in the future." With that, he pushed the two of them out. Chen Yulon still wanted to say something, but Chen Jinsai didn't give them a chance at all. His face was full of impatience. However, just as the two of them were about to be pushed out of the door, Zhuangzi returned. Updated by November G. Kohi was still holding a food box in his hand. When he saw the three of them, he was stunned for a moment. Then, he frowned and said, "Chen Jinsai, what's wrong with you? Who asked you to chase the guests away?" Chen Jinsai stopped in his tracks. Even Jiyu Yundong raised her eyebrows. Tong Shuidao, who was at the side, whispered, "What's wrong with Zhuangzi? Doesn't he know Chen Yulon? He already knows that she's not a good person, yet He's still helping her. Don't tell me He's deliberately finding trouble with Chen Jinsai." Jiyu Yundong waved her hand. "Just watch." Actually, the 3-month trial that she had agreed on with Zhuangzi had been over. However, it was almost the new year. In addition, Lan Huara would be getting married soon, so he might as well wait for another 2 months and go to the prefectural city with Jiang Bao after the new year. Therefore, Zhuangzi was still the shopkeeper of Gus' shop, but he stayed in the backyard most of the time and let Chen Jinsai take charge. But Jiyu Yundong had a vague feeling that Zhuangzi might have postponed the time because he was addicted to being a shopkeeper. Chen Yulon was a little flustered because of Zhuangzi's arrival. They had actually been standing outside the shop for a long time. After confirming that Zhuangzi was not around, they came in to look for Chen Jinsai. Unexpectedly, Zhuangzi returned at this critical juncture. On the other hand, Wu Chong was a little happy. Anyway, the matter couldn't be done, and Chen Jinsai didn't give them any face at all and wanted to chase them away. Naturally, he was happy to see Zhuangzi reprimanding Chen Jinsai. Therefore, he seemed to have a common enemy and added, "That's right. Who gave you the guts to chase the customers out? It's not that I want to say this, but your shop assistant's attitude is a little too bad." Zhuangzi nodded. "That's right. What right does a small shop assistant like you have to chase a guest away? If you want to chase someone away, it should be the shopkeeper. After I leave and you become the shopkeeper, it will be your turn to do this. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 940, a warning beforehand. Jiyu Yundong, Tong Shuidao, the other three people in the shop were speechless. Wu Chong was the first to react. He suddenly looked up at Zhuangzi. You're leaving after the new year?" Then, he pointed at Chen Jinsai. "He's here to be the shopkeeper." The shop assistant was very different from the shopkeeper. Updated by OVG. The entire shop was run by the shopkeeper, and the accounts were also managed by the shopkeeper. When dealing with customers, it was also the shopkeeper, let alone the salary. Wu Chong suddenly looked at Chen Jinsai. "Are you going to be the shopkeeper of Gus after the new year?" Chen Jinsai sneered. "This is our shop's business. What does it have to do with you? Hurry up and leave. Didn't I tell you? The shop assistant can't chase the customers away, but I can." Zhuangzi interrupted him and stuffed the food box into his hand. Then, he waved his hands. "Go, hurry up and leave. If you don't leave, I'll beat you with a broom." "Hey, you," Wu Chong was furious. At this moment, Jiang Bao, who was next door, also came over to help. He held 2 large brooms in his hands and threw them to Zhuangzi. After that, the two of them swept Chen Yulon and Wu Chong away like they were sweeping trash. Wu Chong was still a little indignant. He still wanted to ask if Chen Jinsai would be the shopkeeper of Gus after the new year. If that was the case, wouldn't he have offended him for nothing? Updated by November G. For a moment, he regretted it. It was Chen Jinkei's fault for not making things clear. If he had told him earlier, the two families would not have fallen out so badly. Chen Yulon was even more vexed. Her eldest cousin was about to become a shopkeeper. Moreover, he was the shopkeeper in the county city. He was much more dignified than the manager of the town. She heard that Gus was now in the prefectural city. In that case, would eldest cousin still be able to go to the prefectural city in the future? The couple had different thoughts, but neither of them could stay and talk. It really hurt when the broom hit them. Coupled with the pointing by the passers-by, the two of them quickly buried their heads and ran. Zhuangzi snorted and returned the broom to Jiang Bao before returning to the shop. Chen Jinsai looked at him speechlessly. "Why did you tell them that I'm going to be a shopkeeper after the new year? Would they give up? Won't they know if we don't tell them? They'll have to know sooner or later. I might as well tell them now. At least I can give you a hand if they come again." Jiyu Yundong opened the curtain and walked out. What Zhuangzi said makes some sense. It doesn't matter if you say it earlier or later. "Boss." Chen Jinsai was a little ashamed. "I caused you trouble. This isn't trouble. Who doesn't have a few annoying relatives? You've already cut ties with them, but they are still shameless enough to come knocking on your door. This can only mean that they are thick-skinned. However, I have to remind you in advance. You have to know this in your heart. If you really can't resist their threats and temptations and harm the interests of Gus, I won't be polite either. When the time comes, not only will you be fired, but I won't even hire your brother either." Although it was a little inhumane to do so, Jiyu Yundong had to explain the seriousness of the matter to him. As expected, Chen Jinsai immediately put on a serious expression. Don't worry, boss. Not to mention that we have cut ties now, even if we are close, I won't do such a heinous thing. That's good. Jiyu Yundong believed this. After all, Chen Jinsai had reminded him that someone wanted to harm her mother. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 941. Follow-up. Jiyu Yundong did not care about this matter anymore. She left it all to Chen Jinsai to it. However, the Wu family was after her shop, so Jiyu Yundong still paid some attention to this matter. It was said that Chen Yulon and her husband hadn't come to the shop since that day. However, they were secretly asking if Chen Jinsai would become the shopkeeper. Unfortunately, not many people knew about this matter. They could not obtain any substantial information. Hence, they could only ask around if Zhuangzi would go to the prefectural city after the new year. Many people knew about this. After all, many things had to be arranged before Zhuangzi left. After obtaining the exact news, they were no longer in a hurry. They seemed to want to wait until Chen Jinsai became the shopkeeper before persuading him. Updated by OVG. However, the Chen family had to be visited. It was said that on the second day of the Lunar New Year, Chen Yulon came to visit with the members of the Wu family. However, Chen Liang did not have a good impression of their family and did not even let them in. However, the Wu family refused to leave, especially Auntie Wu. She cried and repented outside, causing many people to go out to watch the commotion. It would not be a big deal if the villagers saw this. After all, many people knew about the grudge between the two families. However, it was the new year, and many families had relatives and friends as guests. They could not afford to lose face. Therefore, Chen Liang could only invite her in. Once she entered, Auntie Wu apologized sincerely. She apologized to Chen Liang and his wife, to Chen Jinbao and his wife, and even to Niu Dan. One could tell at a glance that she regretted her actions and had turned over a new leaf. In addition, the other members of the Wu family had also humbled themselves. It was the new year, so no one could say anything cold or hard. Moreover, Chen Yulon was the only daughter of Chen Liang's younger brother. Hearing her mention her father when he was alive, Chen Liang could not help but feel a little guilty. Seeing that his parents' attitude had softened, Chen Jinsai was furious. Updated by November G. He thought that Chen Yulon and her husband would look for him in the shop. He didn't expect them to have designs on his family. He exposed their purpose on the spot. Chen Yulon denied it, but Chen Liang naturally believed in his son. He immediately stood up and threw out all the things they had brought, and drove the Wu family out, regardless of whether the people outside would laugh at him. The Wu family was embarrassed and was furious with the Chen family. Moreover, Chen Liang's words were very ruthless. He said in front of his relatives and neighbors, "In the future, this family has nothing to do with the Chen family. In the future, if they enter the village, chase them out." It was said that the Wu family had never appeared in Yongfu village again. Of course, this was all in the future. At this moment, Jiyu Yundong and Tong Shuidao were still resting in the shop. After lunch, they went to the street to buy things again. New clothes for the new year had already been prepared, so there was no need to buy them. Firecrackers and fireworks were still needed, especially fireworks. The children especially liked to watch them. They had already bought the lanterns, paper scissors, and red candles in the morning. They had to prepare melon seeds, peanuts, dried goods, tea, and drinks first. Sweets and fruits were available at home. As for the rice cake, tofu, and dumplings, she could slowly make them in the next few days. She could buy and kill the chicken, duck, and fish before the new year. With this in mind, her family's New Year goods were almost ready. Next, it was time to prepare something else. Jiyu Yundong brought Tong Shuidao into a clothing store. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 942. Annual Party and Lottery. Tong Shuidao found it strange. "Miss, haven't you almost bought everything? Why are we going to the cloth shop? Isn't the workshop going to rest in 2 days? It's time to prepare New Year presents for them. This year, the workshop would stop a few days earlier than last year, so everyone could prepare early for the new year. After all, there were many workers in the workshop this year and they were busy all day. There was enough stock, so it did not matter if they were given a holiday a few days in advance. Tong Shuidao was enlightened. That's right. Last year, Miss also sent a large cart of New Year goods. She had heard that many people in the workshop were looking forward to this day. They were already secretly guessing if she would continue to distribute meat and cloth this year. Updated by OVG. Especially the newcomers this year, they were all asking the short-term workers last year. But Miss Tong Shuidao suddenly frowned and said awkwardly, "Will it still be a big piece of pork for each person this year? But it's already afternoon, and there's not much meat at the meat stall. Our workshop has more than 100 people. There's no hurry. I'll get Tongan to come over and buy it later. There are more than 100 people. I'm afraid we have to order 2 big fat pigs in advance. Let's buy the things we want for the annual party today." Tong Shuidao was stunned, and confusion flashed across her face. Annual party? Miss, what is an annual party? It is the last gathering before the new year. We'll eat together, chat, play games, and so on. Of course, there was also the lucky draw. Jiyu Yundong was very happy to hold such a New Year celebration to make everyone happy. They had worked hard for an entire year. On the last day, they could relax and then go home happily to celebrate the new year. At this moment, what she wanted to buy was the prize for the lucky draw. Tong Shuidao became excited, and her face turned slightly red. "Miss, you're saying that more than 100 people will be eating and chatting together? How spectacular is that?" Updated by November G. Co-spectacular. The corners of Jiyu Yundong's mouth twitched. Looking at Tong Shuidao's excited expression, she seemed to be looking forward to it. Jiyu Yundong quickly bought the goods and returned to Yongfu village with Tong Shuidao. Before leaving, she said to Zhuangzi and Chen Jinsai, "You guys close early on the 26th. Go back to the village and let's have a meal together." The two of them were at a loss. A meal? However, the two of them immediately nodded, indicating that they would go back early. On the other hand, Tong Shuidao winked at the two of them before she left, looking mysterious, making the two of them even more confused. The carriage quickly drove into Yongfu village. With the new road, it was much easier for the carriage to travel. There were still many people on the road. The road had been built for a few days, but the villagers still seemed to have not walked enough. They had to pass through this road no matter where they went. It did not matter if they took a long detour. Jiyu Yundong did not know whether to laugh or cry. She did not look at the people outside anymore and hurried home to unload the goods. The next day, the Jiyu family started making rice cakes. On the third day, in the evening of the 25th, Jiyu Dajiang brought Jiyu Dafeng and the others back from the prefectural city. Jiyu Dajiang was stunned when he saw the new village road. Although Chen Jinbao and the others had already mentioned this when they were delivering the goods to the prefectural city, he couldn't help but be shocked when he saw it with his own eyes. This was his daughter's road. It was his daughter's credit. At that moment, Jiyu Dajiang's heart surged with indescribable pride. Jiyu Dafeng was also sitting in the carriage. Looking at the spacious road, she sighed and introduced it to Bian Han excitedly. "This road originally didn't exist. When I left last time, this place was still very narrow. There was even a courtyard in front. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 943. The Jiyu family distributes New Year gifts again. Bian Han felt that his eyes were not enough. One moment, he was staring at the ground, and the next moment, he looked into the distance in the direction Jiyu Dafeng was pointing. His legs were much better now. Although he couldn't shake them yet, it wasn't to the extent that he couldn't move. It was just that in order to take care of his leg, while it originally only took a day to return from the prefectural city, in the end, it took 2 days. Let me tell you, don't be too surprised when you see the house later. Our Yundong built the house very well. It's especially spacious and beautiful. Whoever sees it will like it. Jiyu Dafeng whispered into his ear to remind him. After all, the first time she came, she was stunned when she saw the green brick-tiled house. Updated by OVG. Kobian Han smiled and nodded. She had told him this many times. Not long after, the carriage arrived at the entrance of the Jiyu residence. However, even though Bian Han was mentally prepared, he was still stunned when he saw the house in front of him. It was his fault, for not knowing enough. He heard that this house was built after Yundong fled to Yongfu village. This girl was really capable. Seeing his stunned expression, Jiyu Dafeng sniggered. Then, she got out of the carriage, took the wheelchair from Lu Sheng, and pushed it in front of him. This time, the 4 members of the Lu family also came back. The small courtyard was locked, and Jiyu Dajiang asked his neighbor to help keep an eye on it. There weren't many valuable items there, and the security there was good. There were many scholars, and there were often people patrolling, so he wasn't too worried. Jiyu Yundong stood at the door and welcomed them in. Updated by November G. Co-father, are we still going to the academy after the new year? Jiyu Dajiang shook his head. I'm not going. Just stay at home and prepare for the exam. Teacher also said that it's not a big problem. He told me not to worry too much, nor do I need to travel back and forth. It's a waste of time. If there was really something he didn't understand, he could ask Qin Wenjing. Jiyu Yundong knew what was going on. Jiyu Dajiang asked her about the road construction and Xiao Qingyuan. Seeing that he was endless, Jiyu Dafeng couldn't help but pat him. You just came back. Aren't you tired? Can't you rest well first and talk another day? Jiyu Dajiang coughed lightly and didn't ask further. Everyone quickly finished eating, washed up, and went to rest. The next day was the 26th, and the workshop had stopped for the day. Early in the morning, Tongan went to get meat. There were a lot of people, and each of them had 2 catties of meat. 2 pigs were barely enough. However, there was still a gathering tonight, and Tongan still needed at least half a pig. For a butcher's shop, this was a huge order. They had prepared the pork in advance and even cut it one by one. They guaranteed that every piece of meat weighed 2 catties, no more, no less. Tongan took the meat and bought a lot of vegetables. When they returned to the village, many people saw them. The cart was filled with things, and they could not help but stare. Someone swallowed his saliva. Why did the Jiyu family suddenly buy so much meat? Are they preparing for the new year? This is too much. Why don't you take a look at how many people there are in the Jiyu family now? There are more than 10 servants. There's no need for so much, right? You guys are really ignorant. I think this meat must be for the workers in the workshop. What? Then, that person also remembered. Ayo, wasn't it almost the new year? Last year, the Jiyu family was also very generous. Everyone was given a lot of things and happily carried them home for the new year. Envy, jealousy, and hatred. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 944, his daughter is powerful. The news that the Jiyu family was going to distribute New Year goods quickly spread throughout the village. On the other hand, the people in the workshop were still working hard to do their last day of work this year. Tong An's handcart was pulled back to the Jiyu family. Jiyu Yundong led the family to tidy up the New Year goods first. The stuff was similar to last year's. It was also pork cloth and sugar, but last year's brown sugar had turned into white sugar. In addition, everyone had a piece of pastry bought from the county city. It had been ordered long ago. When the Jiyu family saw that the courtyard was filled with food, their eyes were filled with surprise. Jiyu Dafeng sighed. In the past, if I got a small piece of meat, I would wake up laughing even in my dreams. Even if it was for the sake of sharing this meat every year, I could continue to work in the workshop. I didn't expect that the meat would be distributed this year. Just thinking about it makes my heart ache a little. Jiyu Yundong smiled. Even you think so, eldest aunt. If you can't bear to give up this job for a piece of meat, will others think the same? Jiyu Dafeng was stunned. She pointed at her. You're smart. Wasn't that so? How many families in this village were like her in the past? They had to be careful when they wanted to eat a piece of meat during the new year. There were not many bosses like Jiyu Yundong. After distributing the items, Jiyu Yundong planned to make a trip to the workshop. She had yet to tell everyone about the gathering. On the other hand, Jiyu Dajiang was quite curious about this annual party. He followed Jiyu Yundong to the workshop. Your annual party is quite interesting. How did you come up with it? Well, could Jiyu Yundong say that she did not think of this? She turned around and met Jiyu Dajiang's curious gaze. She could only swallow. Then, she said in all seriousness, "Father, here it goes. We're all at the dining table when we discuss business. Your classmates often arrange to eat and talk together, so when it comes to socializing, eating and drinking are the most suitable. Everyone usually just works hard. I guess some people don't know each other. Why don't we give them a chance to relax and eat together, right?" Jiyu Dajiang fell into deep thought. Indeed, many things were easy to say at the dining table. Conflicts quickly dissipated over a few drinks. Those who had common topics might become closer after chatting. Coupled with the good food and drinks, everyone felt a greater sense of belonging to the workshop. She was trying to buy people's hearts. His daughter was amazing. Jiyu Yundong did not know that he was thinking so much. As the two of them spoke, they arrived at the entrance of the workshop not long after. As she had already told everyone that they would stop working at the 26th this year, there were not many fruits and sugarcane left in the workshop. He estimated that they could stop work at noon. When Jiyu Yundong and his father came in, everyone stood up. "Master, boss, why are you here?" Someone's eyes lit up. Today was the last day. Were they going to give out New Year goods? But when he saw that there was no cart behind Jiyu Yundong carrying things over, he was immediately disappointed. Perhaps there were too many people this year. However, it didn't matter. It was understandable. After all, the New Year goods distributed by the Jiyu family last year were good stuff. If everyone was given a piece this year, it would cost a lot of money. Jiyu Yundong waved her hand and asked the people who were temporarily free to come over first. She waited until they were close before she spoke. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 945. They are all jealous there shouldn't be much to do, right? I think it should be done afternoon. How about this? After everyone is done, let's clean up the workshop, okay? Alright, someone immediately replied loudly. Even if boss doesn't say it, we'll clean everything up before going back. Boss, don't worry. In fact, they still wanted to work. They had heard that there was an additional salary these few days. It was just like Zhuangzi and Chen Jinsai in the county cities Gus. During the new year, the shop could not be closed. After all, they sold sweets and other things. Business was good during the new year, so the two of them would take turns to run the shop. However, their salary for the few days was also calculated separately. It was much more than usual. Many people in the workshop were envious. Unfortunately, the workshop was on holiday. Jiyu Yundong saw that everyone had different expressions and more or less knew what they were thinking. She immediately found it funny and continued, after cleaning up, "Send some people out and borrow 10 tables from each family. I want those big tables that can seat more than 10 people." Everyone was surprised. "Boss, why do you need so many tables?" "For the gathering tonight, of course." Jiyu Yundong smiled. "Don't go back for dinner tonight. Let's have a meal together and chat. How about that?" "Wow, the boss is treating us to a meal." Cheers instantly erupted in the workshop. "That's great. I won't eat lunch. I'll save it for dinner." "Ha ha ha ha, forget it. With your stomach, no matter how much you eat for lunch, you can still swallow a cow at night." "Boss, I'm drooling now. We definitely won't leave. After cleaning the workshop, we'll borrow tables and stools. I guarantee that everyone will be able to sit down." Jiyu Yundong could feel everyone's excitement. Even Jiyu Dajiang was infected by this enthusiasm. He could not help but say, "There will be New Year presents to be delivered tonight." Jiyu Yundong turned to look at her father. Dajiang immediately touched his nose and coughed lightly. Well, I couldn't help it. I just wanted to make everyone happier. As expected, as soon as he said that, the workshop exploded. Some young men couldn't help but jump up. I've been looking forward to the New Year presents for a year. Yundong was speechless. She had not seen them so happy when they were given the wages. She shook her head, thinking that there was still a surprise tonight. She hoped that they would not be too excited. After saying that, Yundong left with Dajiang. As soon as they left, the workshop was instantly filled with joy. Everyone gathered together and discussed. Helpless, Tongan walked out and said, "Aren't you going to work? The earlier you finish your work, the earlier you can eat dinner." Everyone instantly dispersed. Now, they were full of energy, and even their efficiency was almost twice as fast as before. Before noon, the work in the workshop was done. Everyone started to clean up happily. The men took buckets to the river and fetched water. They went back and forth a few times, washing the entire workshop until it was spotless. Even the floor was clean. Seeing how happy they were, some villagers couldn't help but pull them back and ask. When the villagers found out that they were to have a dinner gathering tonight, the villagers couldn't be more jealous. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 946. They are all here this time. The news of the GU family's workshop not only distributing New Year goods but also holding a party spread. Many people had tears in their eyes as they stuck their heads out of the workshop. They really wanted to follow and take a look. When the cleaning of the workshop was almost done, everyone saw the people in the workshop happily moving tables and chairs. Their arrogant appearance made people grit their teeth in envy. Yundong hired a few women from the village to help cook a delicious meal. The fish, rice, and noodles were brought to the kitchen of the GU family's workshop without hesitation. This included Madame Zhu and her daughter-in-law. Coincidentally, Chen Liang's family could eat here. As Chen Liang was the village chief, GU Yundong had to invite him. In addition, Chen Jinsai and Chen Jinbao were both working in her own workshop, and Nyodan had been invited over by Yunshu long ago. As such, there were only Madame Zhu and 2 more people left in the Chen family. They might as well all come over. Lan Huara was also invited over. As for the others, they were not allowed to bring their families. It was mainly because at this moment, there were really not just 1 or 2 families, but 1 or 2 groups. If they were allowed to bring their families, almost the entire village would have to come. Not only that, but there were also long-term workers from the neighboring villages. The workshop could not entertain them. Dinner started around 4 o'clock. It was dark early in winter, and there were no electric lamps. Even if many oil lamps were lit, the effect was not very good. When it was early in the afternoon, the villagers of Yongfu village were surprised to find another group of people coming from the village entrance. Looking closely, wasn't it Zhao Zhu and his son? Since GU Yundong was holding an annual party, everyone here naturally had to be present. Although Zhao Zhu and the She couple were not in the workshop, they helped her manage the orchard. They were invited along with the helpers they found. There were more than 10 of them in total. Because they had received the news in advance, all of them were in high spirits and could not wait. They had never heard of such an event, but there was a feast that they didn't have to pay for. Who wouldn't be willing to come? They didn't know that there would be New Year presents. In any case, they had to come if there was food. GU Yundong felt that since everyone was working for the GU family, they could take this opportunity to get to know each other and prevent conflicts from arising among themselves. That would be troublesome. Later, Zhuangzi and the others returned on the ox cart. Not only them, but also Jiang Bao and the old doctor. Xiao Qingyuan was not around, so GU Yundong had to help take care of his people, right? As for the shop assistants and shopkeepers in the prefectural city, they were too far away and there was nothing she could do. However, GU Yundong had prepared large red packets for these people and would distribute them after the new year. The people in the village watched as they went to the GU family workshop in waves. They were already so envious that they lost their temper. In any case, many people were surrounding the workshop and trying their best to look inside, especially some children. Seeing that the tables were already set, Yundong got someone to bring a lot of melon seeds and peanuts for them to eat first. When a child ran in, she also gave him a handful. Seeing that there were more and more children, she was afraid that they would bump into something, so she simply picked up a cloth bag and handed it to Yunshu and Yuanji, asking them to carry it and distribute the stuff to the children. This lively atmosphere was even more noisy than the New Year. Finally, the time for the annual party that everyone was looking forward to arrived. Everyone at the 15 tables was sitting upright. Before the dishes were served, Yundong walked to the front and began to speak. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 947, Yundong's speech. First of all, I want to thank everyone here for working diligently over the past year. Many things have happened. When the prefectural city opened for business, there was a shortage of stock. It was everyone who worked overtime to meet the demand. Manager Tong was assassinated and remained unconscious for a long time. It was also everyone who did their job in an orderly manner. Yundong did not expect that one day, she would stand in front of everybody and say such emotional words like a leader. However, these people had really moved her. They were hardworking, simple, passionate, and motivated. They were really a very cute group of people. Hence, whether it was the annual party or feast, she felt that they deserved it. Whether it's the Gu family's workshop or the orchard, it's the result of everyone's joint efforts. In the past year, the workshop has increased from 50 to 100 people, the orchard has increased from 80 acres to 180 acres, and the shop has been opened from the county city to the prefectural city. All of this couldn't have been done without everyone present. You have all contributed. You're very good. Someone couldn't help but whimper. Boss, don't say that. You've helped us even more. You gave us such a high salary. If we don't work hard, will we still be human? That's right, boss. If it weren't for you, my house would still be a straw hut. I wouldn't even have a warm bed. That's right. If I didn't work at the Gu family's workshop, I wouldn't have been able to get a wife. Yes, yes, yes. Since I'm working here, my daughter's dowry has been gathered. Boss Gu was too good. In the past, when they worked outside, no one had affirmed their work like this. Not to mention thanking them, it was already good enough if they were paid in time. At this moment, they were actually thanked by their boss. They felt as if they had eaten honey. Dajiang looked at his daughter with incomparable pride. He felt warm inside. Yundong was too outstanding. Yundong was stunned to see them crying. Then, she laughed. All right, I won't say anything else. I know that everyone is waiting for a feast. Serve the dishes. As soon as she finished speaking, there was a burst of cheers. Immediately after, someone brought the food over. In the countryside, the dishes were all served in big pots and bowls. The Gu family's feast was a real feast. Most of them were meat. As soon as the food was served, the workers pounced on it like wolves and tigers. Each of them picked up 2 pieces of meat, and the bottom was quickly revealed. On the other hand, Yundong's table was much more refined. Dajiang drank with Chen Liang. Both of them were slow-witted. They could drink for a long time after filling a glass. Bian Han's leg was still injured and he couldn't drink, so he chatted with him. Madame Yang and Yunke were the happiest. They loved this kind of liveliness the most. When they were almost done eating and there were only 2 or 3 dishes left, Yundong stood up and walked forward. Everyone's stomachs were already full and their movements had slowed down. Hence, most of them saw Yundong's actions and found it strange. Is it time to deliver the New Year goods? I saw it just now. 2 large carts were pushed in. Unfortunately, there was a cloth covering it, so I couldn't see what was inside. In any case, there's definitely meat. Manager Tong brought back a lot of pork this morning. I heard that there was meat and cloth last year. There are so many people this year. I wonder if there are more. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 948, Surprise at the annual party. Jiyu Yundong coughed lightly and the buzzing below immediately stopped. Jiyu Yundong said, I know. Everyone is looking forward to the New Year presents. They will definitely be distributed this year. However, before they are distributed, there will be a surprise for everyone. Surprise? Everyone's eyes widened. Some of the bolder ones who had drunk a little hurriedly stood up and asked, Boss Jiyu, what surprise? Is there more food tomorrow after today? Ha 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 ha, you wish, someone couldn't help but scold. Jiyu Yundong also smiled. It's not good to have fish and meat every day. The surprise I'm talking about is this. As she spoke, she glanced at Tong Shuidao, who immediately handed over a wooden box. Everyone looked confused. A wooden box? Could it be that there was something good inside? However, the wooden box did not look big or heavy. What was inside? While everyone was guessing, Jiyu Yundong had already spoken. There are notes inside. There are words written inside. Now, it's up to your luck. Whoever draws the note with the first, second, and third prizes will be rewarded. Wow, there was an uproar below. A lucky draw? There was actually a lucky draw? This was really a surprise, a huge surprise. Alright, now Shuidao will carry the box to every table. You just have to sit in your seats. When the time comes, you just have to reach in and pull out a note. There are a total of 15 rewards this time. 2 for the first prize, 5 for the second prize, and 8 for the third prize. With that, Tong Shuidao carried the wooden box to the first table. The first person was stunned for a moment until someone pushed him. He suddenly came back to his senses and quickly reached in to take out a note. The second person rubbed his hands, closed his eyes, and muttered, Bless me for winning, winning, winning. Then, with an expression that said he was ready to die, he reached his hand in. The people behind also looked like they were praying to God and Buddha, hoping that they would win. Even if they couldn't win the first prize, they could at least win the second or third prizes. Everyone drew a note, but no one opened it first. It was as if they would be lucky if they did it late. Even when Tong Shuidao returned to Jiyu Yundong's side, the people below did not stop buzzing. Take a look at yours and see if you won any prizes. Why don't you look at yours? Yours first, then mine. Come on. Jiyu Yundong waited for a long time but did not see these people open the note. She immediately held her forehead. It's getting late. Are you sure you won't open the note until tomorrow? If that's the case, I'll leave. No, well look right away. The people below finally couldn't hold it in anymore and quickly opened the note to read. Then, voices sounded one after another. Hey, let me see. What are these words? I don't know him either. Ask Zhuangzi. He can read. Someone took the note to Zhuangzi, who was nearby. Zhuangzi narrowed his eyes and glanced at the expectant person. He sighed and said, These words are thank you for participating. That person was a little confused. What does it mean? It means you didn't win the lottery. Ah, the person immediately wailed and slapped his hands hard. Bad hands. Why can't you even get the third prize? Jiyu Yundong saw that many people couldn't read and did not know what it meant. She immediately explained, It's okay if you don't know the words on the paper. Count them. If it's 4 words, you don't win the lottery. If it's 2 words, you do. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 949. What's the prize? As soon as Jiyu Yundong finished speaking, someone jumped up. Ah, I won. I won. Although he couldn't read, he knew how to count. Immediately after, voices rose and fell in the crowd. I got it too. Ha ha ha, I got it too. When most people saw the words in their hands, they sighed. Then, they shifted their gazes and looked enviously at the people who had won the lottery. Jiyu Yundong said, Winners, please come up first. A few people in the crowd walked forward excitedly. There were 15 people. 4 were women, and the rest were all men. After all, the percentage of male workers was relatively large. They held the notes tightly in their hands. Their faces were slightly red from excitement, and their eyes were strangely bright. They handed the notes to Tong An and asked him to tell them the prize they had won. After all, they could not read. It just so happened that a woman and a man won the first prize. The woman was from the neighboring village. It was said that her family was in trouble, and her 4 children were crying for food. The oldest was only 11 years old. The man in the family was not in good health, so he could only do some simple work. Later on, this woman entered the Jiyu family's workshop and got paid. Only then did her family's life gradually improve. She did not expect her luck to be so good that she won the first prize. Someone said softly, Mrs. Sun's bitter life has finally come to an end. Ever since she entered the Jiyu family's workshop, her luck has also come. Jiyu Yundong thought that Mrs. Sun would definitely like this prize. As for the other first prize winner, he was from Yongfu village. His family background was all right. The second prize was given to a woman and 4 men. One of them was Zhao Zhu, and another 2 were from the neighboring villages. The remaining man and woman were from Yongfu village. The remaining 2 women and 6 men won the third prizes. Some were from Yongfu village and some were from the neighboring villages. These 15 people were all very excited. Even someone as steady as Zhao Zhu clenched his fists tightly. Jiyu Yundong got someone to bring everything up. Next, let me tell you what the prizes are. She lifted the cloth on the first pile, revealing what lay beneath. This is the third prize. There's not much. I hope you like it. Everyone leaned forward and saw boxes on the ground. Inside were cinnamon, red dates, peanuts, melon seeds, and other snacks. Everyone could not help but widen their eyes. This was quite a lot. This was enough to entertain guests for the new year. Moreover, there were many things that they could not bear to buy during the Lunar New Year. Not to mention, there were 2 pots of wine. Judging from the logo, this wine seemed to be brewed by the Dao family in the county city. It was not that kind of cheap wine. Anyway, it was completely different from what they were drinking now. They had never even touched it. Many people present could not help but swallow their saliva. The 8 people who won the prizes were overjoyed and looked at the gift boxes eagerly. This box looked good too. Jiyu Yundong distributed the items one by one. The 8 of them thanked her profusely. When they received the food boxes, they walked back to their original positions in satisfaction. The people at the same table immediately surrounded someone. They wanted to reach out to eat the things in the gift box, but he slapped them away. What are you doing? This is what I have to bring back. I still have to show it to my wife. Don't think about eating it, and don't mess it up. Look at how stingy you are. The person beside him snorted and continued to look ahead. There were so many delicious food for the third prize. He wondered what the second and first prizes were. He was so looking forward to it. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 950, second prize. The people sitting below were all very curious and urged him. Jiyu Yundong did not keep them in suspense. She got someone to remove the cloth on the second pile. Soon, many boxes were revealed below. Everyone was speechless. Why were they all in boxes? Could it be that they were also peanuts, red dates, or something, but there were more portions? This is the second prize. 1 set of cutlery for each person. Although it was called a set, it was actually filled to the brim with a huge box. There were at least 4 sets of bowls, plates, chopsticks, spoons, and cups. There was also a small casserole and a kettle. There were also 2 pots of wine beside it. Wow, the people below exclaimed, their eyes wide open. There were so many pots and pans, and they were brand new and shiny. Most of the people here still had holes in their bowls. Sometimes, they would cut their lips when eating porridge. But even so, they could not bear to throw the bowls away or change them. At this moment, the boss actually offered a whole set. Wasn't this too much? These things were not cheap at all. The men and women who had won the second prize were so excited that their cheeks turned red. They stared at the boxes. Jiyu Yundong said, "These things are a little heavy. If it's not easy for you to carry them, you can hire someone to help you bring them back after the annual party. It's easy to carry. We're very strong." "We're not afraid of heavy lifting," someone immediately replied. The others couldn't help but laugh, but they all nodded, even the woman. What a joke. They could not wait to pounce on the pile of cutlery and touch it properly. How could they wait until the end of the annual party? They could not wait to carry it home and hide it now so that others would not covet their prizes. The others looked like they wanted to split it up on the spot. The corners of Jiyu Yundong's mouth twitched. She did not care anymore and asked them to go forward and get one for themselves. These things were quite heavy. In addition, the wooden box containing the cutlery was not light either. If she distributed them one by one, she would probably die of exhaustion. However, the people who won the prize were not afraid of getting tired at all. They went forward and squatted on the ground. They carefully touched it first and then began to whisper to each other, "This bowl is really flat. It's smooth to the touch. It's not rough at all. If I take it back, I won't even be able to bear to use it. Look at these chopsticks. There are even carvings on the top. It's not cheap. So much. It's not cheap at all." The bowls that Jiyu Yundong bought were all clay bowls that were suitable for them. She had originally considered porcelain bowls, but she was afraid that if they were given out, no one would use them and they would only be locked up. That would be meaningless. However, even if they were just clay bowls, the quality was very good. "Hey, are you done? If you've seen enough, come down quickly. We're still waiting for the first prize. Don't delay others." The people below couldn't take it anymore. These second prize winners were simply too detestable. Not only did they receive the award, but they also had to show off in front of the audience. They even pointed their butts at the audience. The audience simply wanted to rush up and beat them to death. Only then did they cough lightly and stop discussing. They quickly picked up their boxes. But it was really quite heavy. Therefore, other than the few men who carried it down one by one, the woman was in a difficult position. In the end, it was Tong Shuidao who helped her carry it to her own seat. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 951. First prize. After receiving the second prize, only the two people who had drawn the first prize were left. The two of them became inexplicably nervous. It was such a cold day, but their palms were drenched in sweat. Jiyu Yundong asked someone to remove the last piece of cloth. Everyone felt that the last pile was especially big. They thought that there would definitely be a lot of prizes. As expected, as soon as the cloth was lifted, everyone's eyes widened. This time, the prize wasn't contained in a box because it really couldn't fit in. Jiyu Yundong said, "This is the first prize. There's a tenkati quilt, a mattress, a mat, a tent, and a pillow. Each person has 2 sets of these. There are also 2 pots of wine and a bag of tea leaves." Wow! A loud exclamation suddenly erupted from below. Everyone's eyes widened. A tenkati quilt. There were also other things, and there were actually 2 sets. They were so jealous that their eyes turned red. They looked at the 2 people who had won the first prize and wished they could swap places with them. Compared to the third and second prizes, this first prize was really generous. For example, most of the quilts in their families were only 5 catties. At most, they were only 8 catties. 10 catties. It looked big and brand new. It would definitely be very warm if it covered them. In such weather, it was no different from sending charcoal in the snow. They wanted it, very much. Many people subconsciously reached out their hands. Some even went up directly. If Jiyu Yundong had not been standing there, they would have touched the prize. These things were not cheap. Not to mention the quilt, even the mattress was thicker than the hard blanket they had used for a few years. In that case, they could be counted as 4 quilts. Jealousy. Jealousy had changed them beyond recognition. Bad hands, bad hands. Why didn't they get the first prize? Why? Mrs. Sun, who had won the first prize, had reddened eyes and almost cried. It was true. What a thick quilt that contained 10 catties of cotton. Her family was already in a difficult situation. There were only 2 thin blankets at home, one for her and her husband and one for the children. In the winter, they could only cover all their clothes with them, but even so, they would often wake up in the middle of the night from the cold. Originally, when she entered the Jiyu family workshop this year, she finally had some money saved. She planned to buy some cotton after her salary was paid, so that she could stuff the blanket and make it thicker. Because of this, she did not even buy any New Year goods. She did not expect her luck to be so good that she directly drew 2 quilts. That was great. With 2 such thick quilts, her husband and she could have one and her children could have the other. Finally, the family could sleep soundly. Mrs. Sun could no longer hold back her tears. Jiyu Yundong was stunned for a moment. "What's wrong, Mrs. Sun? Don't you like the quilts? If you don't like them, you can ask someone else if they are willing to exchange them with you. Or, no, I like them very much." Thank you, boss." Mrs. Sun hurriedly said, I'm just too happy." The people below laughed. "Boss, your prize is in her heart." "That's right. Boss, you know us too well." Only then did Jiyu Yundong feel relieved. She said to Mrs. Sun, "There are a lot of things, and they are very heavy. Can I get someone to carry them back for you later?" Yes, thank you." Mrs. Sun was so happy that she could not say anything. Not only him, but the other man who had also won the first prize was also very excited. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 952, New Year's goods for everyone. He didn't lack quilts, but he really didn't have one that weighed 10 catties. These quilts were especially beautiful. Coincidentally, his daughter was about to get married. This quilt would be a great honor for her as a dowry, and the color was festive. And that wine and tea leaves were all good things. What should he do? He could not bear to take them out to drink on his daughter's wedding day. However, he quickly said to Jiyu Yundong, "Boss, thank you so much." Jiyu Yundong waved her hand. "Since you both like them, I'm relieved. Leave the things here first. When you get back, you can get someone to help carry them back." "Sure thing." The 2 of them did not touch it. After all, they could not bear to. Their hands were too rough. What if they broke it? However, when they returned to their seats, the people around them surrounded them. All of them were very enthusiastic and said that they wanted to help carry the prizes home. In fact, they wanted to take a closer look and touch the prizes. There was a lot of noise below. They were too happy about winning the prize. Whether it was the first, second, or third prizes, they were all envious. Initially, Jiyu Yundong had thought that the first prize could be a cow or a donkey. After all, many companies in the modern era had cars for annual party prizes. Later on, she thought about it and decided to forget it. Hers was just a small workshop, and it was the first annual party. What would she do in the future if she were to give away cows and donkeys now? Therefore, after pondering for a while, she decided to give them something practical. Judging from their reactions, they should be very satisfied. All right, the lottery is over. Next, everyone will have a share of the New Year goods. As soon as Jiyu Yundong spoke, the people below instantly fell silent. As soon as they heard about the New Year goods, everyone immediately sat up straight. After all, these were really in their hands and had nothing to do with others, so there was no need to be envious. Therefore, getting the New Year goods was more important. Soon, Tong En and Tong Ping pushed the cart over. It was filled with meat, and everyone's eyes lit up instantly. Even though they had just finished eating a big meal, they could not help but swallow hard. Several ways to cook pork flashed across their minds. 2 catties of meat for each person. Everyone, don't be anxious. Everyone has a share. Jiyu Yundong led the Jiyu family and pieces of pork. Everyone was distributed. Even the 2 little fellows, Yunshu and Yunke, were helping excitedly. They swung their legs upside down and handed the meat to the villagers. After the meat was distributed, the cloth was given away. White sugar followed, and the last was pastries. There were a total of 4 items, and everyone's hands were filled with them. Everyone was very excited and discussed animatedly. They did not have to buy those things during the new year and saved a lot of money. Jiyu Yundong waited for them to finish their discussion before continuing. The New Year's goods have been distributed. Finally, It's this month's salary. Tong Shuidao carried up another basket. It was really because most people were given copper coins, so she had no choice but to use the basket. Jiyu Yundong took a brush and paper and an account book. She sat behind a table and said to everyone, "Now, come up one by one. You can go back after receiving the salary. It's been hard on everyone this year. Continue to work hard next year and strive to earn more money. Okay." The voices below were exceptionally loud, and everyone was very excited. Jiyu Yundong nodded in satisfaction and opened the account book. "Come up when you hear your name. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 953, More Surprise. Jiyu Yundong quickly recited, "Shu Huara. Here." Jiyu Yundong had an impression of her. Last year, she was also there when the short-term workers received the New Year's goods. When they arrived, Jiyu Yundong took the string of copper coins from Tong Shuidao and handed it to her. Shu Huara bowed. "Thank you, boss." Then, she took the copper coins and walked to the side. Jiyu Yundong ticked her name. Then, she started to call the second person. Just as she was handing out copper coins to the second person, Shu Huara, who was beside her, suddenly exclaimed, "Boss, you gave an extra 100 copper coins." Everyone looked over in unison, but Jiyu Yundong was not surprised. "It's the new year. Take these 100 copper coins as a red packet for everyone. Everyone has it. You can buy New Year goods with it." 100 copper coins was not much. It could be considered the year-end bonus. Everyone had worked hard for an entire year. On the last day, they still had to celebrate. When the people behind heard this, they were overjoyed. They did not expect that when the workshop closed for the holiday, there would be a meal gathering, a lucky draw, and a New Year's gift. In the end, there was even a red packet. The surprises came one after another, making them a little dizzy and unable to find the north. These things were common to modern companies, but in this era, they were unique. But to Jiyu Yundong, these extra rewards did not cost much. In total, it was about 50 to 60 taels. However, this would make everyone happy. In the future, they would be more loyal to the Jiyu family and have a greater sense of belonging to the Jiyu family. Moreover, they would be able to publicize it for free. This money was very worth it. The pay was distributed one by one. Everyone could not help but count it again and again. It was not that they did not trust Jiyu Yundong and were afraid that they would be paid less. They just could not resist the desire to count the money, especially when they had an extra 100 copper coins. They felt so good. The Zheng couple, the Shi couple, Zhao Zhu, and the other managers were the last to be paid. Their salaries were high, so they were directly given silver. Everyone was a little envious when they saw this. They thought that if they worked harder, they would be able to touch silver when they became managers in the future. However, none of these people left after receiving the money. Jiyu Yundong found it strange. Then, she saw that everyone was busy. The tables were cleared, the stools were cleared, and the women were tidying up the pots and pans and cleaning the ground. Jiyu Yundong immediately smiled. Whether it was New Year goods or red packets, they were indeed worth it. In just a short while, the workshop returned to its original state. It was clean. The tables and chairs had all been returned. Everyone stood in front of Jiyu Yundong again with the New Year goods in their hands. They waved at Jiyu Yundong. "Boss, we wish you a Happy New Year in advance. We'll take our leave first." Jiyu Yundong waved her hand. "Happy New Year to you too. See you next year." Only then did everyone turn around and leave. The weather outside was very cold and dark, but the people who came out of the workshop were all overjoyed and warm. The families of the people from the neighboring villages who lived further away came to pick them up. Mrs. Sun's husband was also here. Although he was not in good health, it was fine for him to go out. At this moment, he saw Mrs. Sun carrying a large pile of things in her hand. There were actually quilts. Her husband's face was filled with shock as he hurriedly went up to her. Mrs. Sun was very happy to see him. She said with a face full of joy, "Husband, we drew the lottery today. I won the first prize. Look, There are 2 big quilts and beddings, and these, if you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 954, New Year Misses. Sun's husband was stunned. He subconsciously took a quilt and it, unable to come back to his senses. The people beside her had already started talking at once. Your wife is lucky. You don't know that there were only 2 people who won this prize. Your wife was one of them. This quilt weighs 5 kilograms. Look, it's so thick. It's thick, it's indeed thick. He nodded blankly. Mrs. Sun raised the New Year goods again. These were also given by the boss. We don't have to buy them for the new year. Someone at the side shouted, let's go back first. It's already so late. Let's not stand here anymore. Let's go. Yundong gave a few lanterns to the people living in the neighboring villages and asked them to go back together in case they could not see the road. However, it did not matter to them whether they had lanterns or not. The road was so wide that they could walk as they pleased. It was even more convenient for those from the local village. Many people were still waiting outside. Soon, the lively crowd dispersed. Yundong led his parents and siblings back to the Jiu house. The door of the workshop was closed. Next, they just had to prepare for the new year in peace. When they reached home, Yundong took out a few red packets and gave one to the Tong family, the Lu family, and Shuirong. Everyone thanked her and happily accepted it. When Yundong returned to her room, she wrote a letter to Xiao Qingyuan and told him in detail about today's annual party. Now that they could not see each other, they could only contact each other through letters. Unfortunately, he couldn't be at home during the new year. She recalled that last year, Xiao Qingyuan was alone at home. Later, he was called over by Yunshu to set off firecrackers and have New Year's Eve dinner with the Jiu family. This year, only Argo and the auntie who cooked were in the Xiao family. Yundong also gave them red packets on behalf of Xiao Qingyuan. The next day, the incident at the Jiu family workshop's annual party swept through Yongfu village and the neighboring villages like a violent wind. Everyone was envious when they heard that everyone had New Year's goods and a few big awards. Thus, a new round of inquiring about whether the workshop was recruiting people began again. Unfortunately, Yundong was not recruiting for the time being. Even if she wanted to recruit, she had to expand the workshop first. In the following days, the Jiu family began to prepare for the new year. They cleaned the house, made tofu, killed chickens and fish, and made dumplings. Everything was warm. On New Year's Eve, the family gathered together with smiles on their faces. Yundong recalled last year. At that time, her father had not been found, and she did not know where eldest Aunt Jiu was. Yuanji was suffering in old Gus' house. Now, apart from Uncle Jiu, her family was finally reunited. Yundong believed that they would be able to find younger uncle sooner or later. This was her first wish for the new year. The dinner was very sumptuous. After eating, everyone went to set off firecrackers. Since Xiao Qingyuan wasn't around, Dajiang was the one who lit the firecrackers. Yundong held the little girl in her arms and listened to the crackling sounds. She looked at Yunshu and Yuanji jumping around and could not help but smile. After the firecrackers were released, Yunshu and Yuanji ran in to move the fireworks out. The 2 of them were bold enough to light the fireworks themselves. The fireworks rushed into the sky with a bang and exploded. The people in the village looked up one after another. The children's voices were especially cheerful. The crowing of chickens and barking of dogs made the night in Yongfu village seem like a busy city. After the fireworks ended, fireworks exploded in the sky on the other side. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 955, Yundong is also a junior who is doted on. The Jiu family could not help but turn their heads and look in the direction of the fireworks. Yunshu's eyes lit up. She jumped and said, "It's Nyodan's house. It must be his house that set off the fireworks." Yundong smiled and nodded. It was indeed in the direction of Chen Liang's house. It seemed that the Chen family had earned a lot of money this year and was extravagant. After New Year's Eve, it would be New Year's Day the next day. It was different from last year. Last year, Jiyu Yundong could only give out red packets. The only red packet that was given to her came from Shao Qingyuan. She had placed it in a box and kept it in the space. This year, when Jiyu Yundong woke up, she received red packets from her parents, aunt, and father. Looking at the red packets in front of her, Jiyu Yundong's eyes burned. This was the first time in many years that she had received a red packet from her family and elders. Jiyu Yundong felt that her life was complete. She put away the complicated and sour feeling in her heart and reached out to take them. Thank you, father and mother. Thank you, eldest aunt and uncle. Happy New Year. Jiyu Dajiang patted her head. Happy New Year. I hope you'll be healthy and safe in the new year. Be happy every day. As he spoke, he felt a little reluctant. Jiyu Dajiang had a feeling that this year might be Yundong's last year receiving red packets as an unmarried girl. Next year, she might even have to bring Shao Qingyuan along. Thinking about it, he started to dislike Shao Qingyuan again. Fortunately, Shao Qingyuan wasn't present this year. Otherwise, he would definitely receive Jiyu Dajiang's angry glare. Immediately after, Jiyu Dajiang gave a few more red packets to the younger ones. This time, it was not Jiyu Yundong's turn to give away red packets. She was also a junior now who had parents, aunts, and uncles to dote on her. After Yunshu, Yunke, and the other children received the red packets, they ran out to play with their friends. Not long after, they brought a group of children in to pay New Year greetings. The Jiyu family had prepared a lot of sweets, sunflower seeds, and snacks. When the children were here, none of them returned empty-handed. Their clothes and pockets were filled. On the second day of the Lunar New Year, most of the villagers started to visit their relatives. The relatives of the Jiyu family were all at home, so there was no need to travel around. However, there were many people who came to visit. The Jiyu family stayed at home to entertain the guests. On the third day of the Lunar New Year, the whole family went up the mountain to visit Bian Mulan. It was Bian Han's first time back. It was inconvenient for him in a wheelchair. It was not easy to walk up the mountain, so he could only be carried by a few people. When he saw Bian Mulan's tombstone, he couldn't help but cry. Everyone present felt terrible. They were living a good life now, but Bian Mulan couldn't enjoy it. After crying for a while, the Bian family calmed down a little and went down the mountain. On the fourth day of the Lunar New Year, Jiyu Yundong and his family went to Qin Wenzheng's house to visit him. On the fifth day of the Lunar New Year, Jiyu Yundong went to the Liu residence again. Liu Wei was not around and went out to play. However, Liu Yi was at home. He had a good relationship with Yunshu and Yuanji and insisted that they stay for the night. On the sixth and seventh day of the new year, Jiyu Yundong went to take a look at other people's houses. On the eighth day of the new year, the workshop reopened and all the workers returned. Jiyu Yundong looked at their flushed faces. This meant that they all celebrated the new year in happiness. Sure enough, after the workshop started, everyone worked even harder. However, Shao Qingyuan hadn't returned yet. He had sent a few letters back, saying that everything was going smoothly. Although Jiyu Yundong was looking forward to his return, she was also very busy. After all, her father would be taking the imperial examination at the beginning of next month. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 956, 10 Thin Clothes. Jiyu Yundong was still a little excited about the imperial examination. Not only her, but everyone in the Jiyu family was on high alert, especially Jiyu Dafeng. As Jiyu Dajiang's sister, she knew best about his helplessness when he wanted to study as a kid. She accompanied him through the experience of being chosen by the old elementary scholar and recognized by the old patriarch. Later on, the old patriarch and the old elementary scholar passed away one after another. Originally, he was just close to taking the preparation scholar exam, but his rights were directly stripped. In the end, he put down his books and worked in the fields all day. Jiyu Dafeng had accompanied him all this way. At that time, he saw his younger brother, who was clearly talented, good at studying, and motivated, but because of Madame Zhao's suppression, old Gus inaction, and the patriarch's personal grudge, he cut off his chance to study. This made Jiyu Dafeng hate the Jiyu family very much. She wanted to protect Jiyu Dajiang, but it was too difficult. She was still young at that time. Dealing with the 3 mountains above her was no different from courting death. Therefore, now that Jiyu Dajiang could participate in the imperial examination, the joy in Jiyu Dafeng's heart could not be described with words. She had even cried behind someone's back. Jiyu Yundong knew that there was no need to worry about endorsement and recognition. With Qin Wenzheng's help, what she needed to think about now was how to let her father perform normally in the examination hall and strive to pass in one go. The county exam was in February. There were 5 subjects, and each one was only for a day. It was still bearable. After all, he did not have to stay in a narrow examination shed and endure the consequences of his back aching and legs weakening. However, the weather in February was still very cold, so it was still very important to keep warm. It was just that she had heard that when entering the examination hall, hats were not allowed to be double-layered. The leather jacket had to be stripped of its skin, and the felt clothes were removed from the inside. The clothes and robes were all single-layered, the socks were made of single-layered felt, and the shoes were made of thin soles. Just thinking about these rules made Jiyu Yundong feel cold. She touched her chin and went to look for Jiyu Dafeng. She said, "Eldest aunt, I think we have to prepare at least 10 pieces of single clothes for father. Otherwise, he'll shiver from the cold." Jiyu Yundong's embroidery skills were still not good. After all, this was Jiyu Dajiang's clothes. It was not good for her to ask Shen to make it, so she simply looked for eldest aunt. Jiyu Dajiang happened to walk over. When he heard that, he looked at himself. Single clothes, 10 pieces? Well, Yundong, the weather is already getting warmer next month, so there's no need for so many, he said. If I put all 10 clothes on, I'm afraid I won't even be able to straighten my hand. How can I write? Jiyu Yundong waved her hand. It's okay. Make the clothes inside smaller and the clothes outside bigger. But that's still uncomfortable. Jiyu Yundong turned around and said solemnly, "Father, it's better than catching a cold. At least wear it when you go in. If it does affect your performance while you're holding the brush, then take it off." His daughter was so concerned about him. It was as if he would hurt her heart if he rejected her again. Jiyu Dajiang nodded. All right. Jiyu Yundong was satisfied. He thought for a while and suddenly slapped his forehead. I almost forgot. Forgot what? Jiyu Dafeng asked. Father, each of you has a test tent, right? Moreover, you have to draw lots to determine the location of the test tent. Jiyu Dajiang had already asked around. That's indeed the case. What's wrong? I'm worried that you won't get a good spot. Jiyu Yundong frowned. Father, what if you get a spot next to the toilet? Well, what could he do? Acknowledge his bad luck? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 957, Yundong is right. Jiyu Dajiang was already mentally prepared, so he didn't think much of it. On the other hand, Jiyu Dafeng became nervous. Then what should we do? If you draw a spot beside the toilet, won't you have to smell that disgusting smell for the entire day? How can you write? How can you think? How can you eat? Jiyu Yundong nodded and said in agreement, also, I heard that some candidates get nervous easily when they enter the examination hall. When they are nervous, their stomach hurts. When it hurts, they have to go to the toilet. If they come a few more times, my father will probably faint from the smell. That won't do, that won't do. Yundong, can you get someone to change your father's position? After saying that, Jiyu Dafeng asked worriedly, this shouldn't be considered bribing the examiner, right? It's just changing his position. It's not like he cheated. Jiyu Yundong shook her head. No, I heard that the examination is especially strict. Such private transactions can't be made at all. Otherwise, you'll be beheaded. Then what should we do? Jiyu Dafeng was anxious. It wasn't easy for your father to have the chance to take the imperial examination. How can he destroy it on the toilet? Dajiang was speechless. Wait, are you guys mistaken? This is just a possibility, just a possibility. Why does it sound like you've already confirmed that he'll definitely sit in the test shed beside the toilet? Hey, there are so many people taking the exam. I really don't have to. Father, you have to consider all possibilities, Yundong said solemnly. Dafeng nodded. Yundong is right. We can't hope for luck. What if you're unlucky? Yundong is right. Dafeng continued to nod. So, father, we have to think of a way to solve this problem first. Yundong is right. Dafeng nodded halfway and suddenly looked at her in surprise. You've thought of a way. Yundong said in all seriousness, I do have a stupid but very effective method here. Tell me quickly. Dafeng's eyes lit up. However, Dajiang suddenly had a very bad feeling. Yundong said, we have to let my father get used to this smell first. You mean? Yundong looked at Dajiang. Father, during this period of time, when you're reading and writing articles, move the table near the outhouse. When you're used to it and can smell nothing, you won't have anything to fear. You won't care where the examination hall is when you write articles. Dajiang couldn't help but widen his eyes. Yundong, I'm your father, your biological father. What the hell is smelling nothing? You even create an idiom yourself, right? When Dafeng heard this, she was a little hesitant. Was this method really fine? She looked at Dajiang, who shook his head vigorously. No, definitely not. I probably wouldn't draw that spot at all. Yundong said, Father, you said it's possible. What if? What if your luck is extremely bad? But Yundong, I'm actually not that weak. Think about it. I've suffered in the past. I can overcome such a small matter. There's no need to make so much effort. But Dad, for the past 6 months, you've mostly been reading and writing in a comfortable environment. Now that you've suddenly fallen into such a bad situation, the difference is too great, and it's easier for you to feel unbalanced. Dajiang felt that all his years of studying had been in vain. He actually couldn't win against his daughter in a debate. Yundong, are you serious? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 958, Dressed So Festively. Yundong nodded seriously. Very seriously. Seeing that things had developed to this point and there was no room for negotiation, Dafeng suddenly felt like laughing. How did things end up in this direction? Dajiang was pushed out by Yundong to the toilet door. Dajiang immediately covered his nose. Yundong, I'm your biological father. Look, you can't take it anymore and have to cover your nose. You'll have to face 5 exams in the future. Won't you break down? It's precisely because you're my biological father that I'm so considerate of you. Thank you, but no. Dajiang wanted to leave, but Yundong stood firmly behind him. Father, it's said that only through hardship can one rise above others. The imperial examination is a long and arduous path. This is just a little stench. You have to overcome it. Dajiang was speechless. He didn't want his daughter anymore. He could not win against Yundong. In short, no matter what reason he had, Yundong could find something to refute. In the end, Father Tong and Shuerong moved a table and chair to the toilet. Dajiang sat there aggrievedly. The veins on his hand that was holding the brush throbbed, and he almost showed everyone how to break the brush with his bare hands. Yundong was quite satisfied, but the others standing behind her were holding back their laughter. Dafeng couldn't hold it in anymore. She quickly turned her head away, but her shoulders were heaving. Madame Yang and Yunke did not understand what was going on and also giggled. Yunshu pulled Yuanji's arm and took a few steps back. She said softly, Do we have to read and write like this for the preparation scholar exam? Bian Yuanji rubbed his head in confusion. I didn't hear the teacher say that. Yunshu shrank her neck. My elder sister is too terrifying. The 2 little fellows still had lingering fears. They were already thinking about how to avoid this cruel method when they took the exam. However, Jiyu Yundong felt that she had solved a huge problem in her heart and began to think about other things. There was no need to worry about food. It was just a day of exams. He could still fill his stomach for more than half a day with some pastries and bread. Jiyu Yundong thought of everything she could think of and felt that she had missed nothing. Only then did she heave a sigh of relief. In the next few days, she focused on preparing. By the end of the month, Jiyu Dajiang's 10 clothes were completed. Jiyu Yundong took it from eldest aunt Jiyu and compared it. It was not bad. The outermost piece was exceptionally wide, so it should not be too tight. Jiyu Yundong carried the pile of clothes to look for Jiyu Dajiang. However, just as she reached the courtyard, she bumped into him. "Father, why do you smell so bad?" Jiyu Yundong took a few steps back. Jiyu Dajiang's eyes suddenly turned sinister as he sneered at Jiyu Yundong. The latter suddenly reacted. Oh no, it seemed like she did it. She immediately turned around and ran away with her clothes. Jiyu Dajiang snorted and returned to his room to shower and change. After more than an hour, Jiyu Yundong came back quietly with his clothes. She originally thought that Jiyu Dajiang would not be around. Unexpectedly, when she arrived at the main house, she saw her father trying on a piece of clothing. Madame Yang was looking at him with glowing eyes, as if she liked him very much. Jiyu Yundong was surprised. "Father, where did you get this outfit? Why are you dressed so festively? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 959. What does other people getting married have to do with you? Madame Yang was helping him tidy up his sleeves. She also looked very happy, not letting go of even the slightest wrinkle. Jiyu Dajiang glanced sideways at Jiyu Yundong and said, "Jiang Bao and the Shi family's daughter are getting married. Don't tell me you've forgotten." "Of course I didn't forget. Isn't it the day after tomorrow?" Jiyu Yundong was suspicious. "But what does her marriage have to do with you wearing new clothes?" Jiyu Dajiang was smug. "They invited me to be their witness." Witness? When did this happen? Why didn't she know? Seeing that her father's new clothes were prepared so neatly, he must have received the news long ago. Was he deliberately not telling her? Was he taking revenge on her for letting him stay near the toilet? He was already so old. How childish. Jiyu Yundong snorted softly, but she was still very surprised. However, what she did not know was that Jiang Bao's first consideration was Jiyu Yundong. Speaking of which, Jiyu Yundong and Xiao Qingyuan were more or less matchmakers for him and Lan Huana. If she hadn't hired Zhuangzi, if Boss Xiao hadn't hired Jiang Bao, the two of them wouldn't have known each other. Naturally, Zhuangzi wouldn't have introduced the girl to her. Therefore, to them, Jiyu Yundong and Xiao Qingyuan were matchmakers, benefactors, and esteemed guests. However, Xiao Qingyuan was not around. Jiyu Yundong was not married after all. It was not appropriate for her to be a witness. Hence, after some thought, Jiang Bao thought of Jiyu Dajiang. This was Boss Gus' biological father and Boss Xiao's future father-in-law. He was also a scholar. It was said that he would be participating in the imperial examination soon. At that time, he would be the elementary scholar. Their witness was the elementary scholar. If word got out, wouldn't it be glorious? Hence, the Shi couple and the Jiang family came to invite Jiyu Dajiang. This was the first time Jiyu Dajiang was a witness. For some reason, he was a little excited. Hence, on the day of Jiang Bao and Lan Hua's wedding, he woke up early. After dressing up, he got Shui Rong to put on a carriage and went to the Jiang family village. As the witness, Jiyu Dajiang naturally had to go to the man's side. Jiyu Yundong brought the rest of the Jiyu family to the Shi residence. Jiyu Dafeng and his husband did not go. After all, they did not have much of a relationship with the newlywed couple. In addition, Bian Han's leg was inconvenient. There were too many people, and it was easy to get injured if they squeezed around. When the Shi family got married, the entire village became lively. In the past, Shi Dashan and his wife were timid, and Zhuangzi was a hooligan. Lan Huara was the only sensible and smart one in the family. However, no matter how smart she was, having such a family would also drag her down. Therefore, when families with slightly better conditions were looking for a wife, they would not consider Lan Huara. However, in less than a year, the Shi family had changed drastically. Lan Huara had married into a good family. She heard that Jiang Bao was going to the prefectural city soon. This time, most of the people in the village came to the Shi family's treat. When Jiyu Yundong entered, it was already bustling with noise and excitement. Many villagers came over to help. Some were cooking, some were carrying tables. Most of them knew Jiyu Yundong. When they saw her family coming, they raised their hands to greet her. Jiyu Yundong nodded and responded to them one by one. Then, she brought the children to see the bride. Lan Huara sat in her room. The Shi family had renovated the house. She had a separate room, and it was quite big. Hence, when Jiyu Yundong entered, there were already many people sitting in the room. However, there were a few familiar faces. They were ladies and women from the village, and some were complete strangers. They were probably relatives of the Shi family. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 960, Jiyu Yundong adds makeup. When Lan Huara saw Jiyu Yundong, she quickly stood up. Jiyu Yundong quickly made her sit down. Sit properly. Don't mess up the wedding dress. I just brought a few children over to take a look. They all said they wanted to see the bride. As she spoke, she lowered her head and looked at Yunshu, Yunke, Yuanji, and Lu Hongqiao. The few of them stuck half their heads out from behind her. Their faces were a little red and they looked a little embarrassed. The bride is so beautiful. Young Lady Yunke was the sweetest. She took a few steps forward and raised her small head. Her eyes were shining as she watched. She could not bear to move. Lan Huara was embarrassed by her gaze. She quickly picked up the candy beside her and fed her one. Keek looks good too. Come, eat the wedding candy. Yes, it's delicious. Thank you, Sister Lan Huara. Lan Huara also distributed wedding candy to the other children, including Jiyu Yundong. The Shi family's conditions were better now, and they had a lot of sweets, but they couldn't give them away casually. After all, sweets were really expensive. The children took the candy and looked at the bride. They were immediately chased out by Jiyu Yundong. When I came over just now, I saw Niu Dan and Zheng Le playing outside. You guys should hurry up and join them too. The few of them immediately dispersed and ran out of the door. Jiyu Yundong took out a red packet and handed it to Lan Huara. Take this. I wish you a happy marriage and a happy life with Jiang Bao. Then, she took out a silver hairpin to add makeup to her appearance. After that, Jiyu Yundong left the room with Madame Yang. As soon as she left, everyone in the room surrounded her and stared at the hairpin with burning eyes. Yundong is so generous. This hairpin doesn't look cheap. Let me see, let me see. Ayo, with this amount and this style, it must be no less than 3 taels of silver. Lan Huara, this is your dowry. You have to keep it well. That's right, that's right. Don't lose it. Otherwise, you'll cry to death and let Boss Jiyu down. Lan Huara was originally very relaxed, but when they said that, she was immediately extremely nervous. For a moment, she did not know where to put the hairpin. Until a soft sneer sounded in the corner. You guys are really funny. Such a lousy hairpin is almost like a treasure. That Miss Jiyu is so rich, why didn't she give you a gold gift? I heard that those rich families offer a complete set of makeups for the bride. You guys can even brag about a hairpin. It's strange. As soon as she said this, the room fell silent. Everyone looked at the girl who spoke in unison and frowned. Lan Huara also frowned. Her personality was different from her parents, especially those who made her unhappy on her wedding day. She would not be polite. It's better than nothing. This person was a cousin of hers called He Xiu. She was the same age as her. In the past, she looked down on her family and would poke fun at them from time to time. Later, Zhuangzi became a clerk in the county. The Shi family's days were getting better and better. This cousin of hers had other thoughts and wanted to marry Zhuangzi. Unfortunately, Zhuangzi was focused on his goal of becoming the shopkeeper. He did not even know who He Xiu was. Moreover, Shi Dashan and his wife did not like He Xiu. In the end, the matter was left unsettled. However, a few months ago, the He family found out that Zhuangzi had become the shopkeeper. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 961. Prestigious Shopkeeper. In this day and age, anyone who could be a shopkeeper was old. A young man like Zhuangzi would have to work for at least 10 years before he could reach that step. It had been less than a year since he became a shop assistant, right? The He family was excited and ran over to matchmake Zhuangzi and He Xiu. The Shi couple would not agree either. The He family's parents almost fell out with them. No matter what they said, they could not get them to agree. Later on, they came up with a bad idea. They simply let He Xiu go to Gus's shop to meet Zhuangzi. The two of them would meet more in private. When Zhuangzi had a good impression of He Xiu, it would be useless even if the Shi couple wanted to object. He Xiu did go to the shop in the county city and saw Zhuangzi arrogantly instructing Chen Jinsai to work. She felt that it was especially impressive and imagined having a maidservant for her to order around in the future. Hence, she was even more determined to get Zhuangzi. After entering the shop, she felt very immersed and also instructed Chen Jinsai. Chen Jinsai tolerated Zhuangzi because Zhuangzi was only putting on an act on the surface. In fact, he had helped him a lot. This was the way the two of them interacted. But where did this woman called He Xiu come from? It was simply baffling. Then, He Xiu was chased out by Chen Jinsai. Zhuangzi looked on coldly and even gloated. These relatives of the He family were really ugly. Zhuangzi had never liked them in the past. When his parents were in trouble, they would avoid them and hit them when they were down. Now, seeing that Zhuangzi's family's lives were getting better and better, they rushed to curry favor with them, which made Zhuangzi extremely disgusted. Therefore, no matter what He Xiu's personality was, Zhuangzi would not consider it. Although he had become the shopkeeper, Zhuangzi was still not stingy. He went straight to He Xiu's village to look for the He family's parents. If they let He Xiu pester him again, he would make a fuss that the entire village would know and make He Xiu unable to marry in the future. If He Xiu had the guts to marry him, he would also have the guts to beat her to death. As for being filial to his parents-in-law, don't even think about it. He Xiu's family really felt that he could do it. They were a little timid. After weighing it for a while, they still felt that they should let it go. Hence, they restrained He Xiu and stopped her from looking for Zhuangzi. Lan Hua did not expect He Xiu to make things difficult for her here. With her temperament, she actually looked down on Jiyu Yundong's gift. What a joke. He Xiu was a little angry after being rebuked by Lan Hua. She stood up and wanted to quarrel with her. However, she was quickly suppressed by her sister-in-law. Stop it. Today is Lan Hua's big day. If you make a fuss, Zhuangzi will be the first to not let you off. It's not like you don't know Zhuangzi's temper. He Xiu took 2 deep breaths and endured it. In the end, she did not say anything. However, after lowering her head, her eyes darted around and her gaze landed on the hairpin. The He family's sister-in-law immediately changed the topic, and everyone looked away from He Xiu. The chattering in the room quickly became lively again. Not long after, there was a sudden commotion outside. Immediately after, a child ran in and shouted, "The groom is here! The groom is here!" He rode a tall horse over. He's so awe-inspiring. Everyone in the room stood up and chuckled as they asked Lan Hua to quickly cover her head. After a while, there was even more noise outside. There were a lot of people in the room. Soon, a portion of them went out. He Xiu also squeezed out of the crowd. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 962. Madame Yang is a fool. However, no one realized that He Xiu had something in her hand when she went out. Jiang Bao was blocked outside the door by Zhuangzi, Big Qian, and Gosheng. One moment, they wanted him to flip around, and the next moment, They wanted him to recite poetry. The onlookers were overjoyed. However, Zhuangzi thought that he knew a few words and even pretended to come up with couplets, causing Yunshu and the children to laugh. Jiang Bao was quick-witted. In addition, he called Go, a skilled person, over to help. Not long after, the people in the courtyard could not stop them and let them in. Jiyu Yundong stood in the crowd and watched the commotion. She suddenly thought of Shao Qingyuan. She didn't know when he would be back, but she had received a letter from him 2 days ago. He only said that everything was going well and that he would try his best to rush back. After all, it was a messenger pigeon. It was not appropriate to write some confidential information on it. Jiyu Yundong slowly exhaled. When he looked over again, he saw that Jiang Bao had already been escorted into the bride's room by everyone. Soon, he carried the bride out. The group of people cheered over there, as if they had married a wife. Jiang Bao had specially gotten someone to carry a bridal sedan chair over. In this day and age, when one got married in the countryside, those who were really poor would directly walk back. Those with slightly better conditions would drive a carriage over to pick the wife up. It was the first time in Yongfu village that someone like Jiang Bao rode a tall horse and got someone to carry a red sedan chair. Update by N0VGO. C0 The villagers were extremely envious, especially those young wives. When they thought about how their weddings had been cold and cheerless previously, but Lan Hua could sit in the bridal sedan chair, their hearts itched. Lan Hua will enjoy life in the future. That's right. Who would have thought that the Shi family would have such good fortune a year ago? The Shi family is lucky. They are following the Jiyu family now. When Lan Hua returns to the family, I heard that Zhuangzi and the Shi family's son-in-law are going to the prefectural city. He Xiu was very disdainful when she heard this. Just wait. She wanted to see if the Jiyu family would always take care of the Shi family in the future. Lan Hua was taken away. Shi Dashan and his wife were reluctant, and their eyes were red. Even though Jiang Bao had repeatedly promised to take good care of Lan Hua and not let her suffer, they were still worried. It was only when the bridal sedan was further and further away and could no longer be seen that Shi Dashan turned around and started to call everyone into the courtyard to eat. Jiyu Yundong sat at the head of the table with Madame Yang beside her. However, Madame Yang was a child. After eating, she got off the table and went to play with Yunke. Jiyu Yundong let her be and only let Lu Hongxiu keep an eye on her. When He Xiu saw Madame Yang leave, she hurriedly swallowed the meat in her mouth. She put down her chopsticks reluctantly and hurriedly followed. Madame Yang liked to play with children. In the past, there were children who secretly scolded her for being a fool. Later on, the Jiyu family became better and better, and Jiyu Yundong became more and more domineering. These children were reminded by the adults not to offend the Jiyu family. Moreover, because Yunshu was good at her studies and had a lot of experience, she had vaguely become the king of children in this village. Therefore, when Madame Yang came over, the children were also very friendly to her. However, He Xiu frowned. It was mainly because Lu Hongxiu was watching over Madame Yang, so she couldn't find a chance to get close to her. He Xiu had already thought it through. Madame Yang was a fool. She was easy to deceive and trust. She would tell Madame Yang that the hairpin belonged to the Jiyu family and was worth a lot of money. It was a pity to give it to someone else. Wouldn't it be good to leave it for her daughter as a dowry in the future? She could make her daughter proud later. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 963. Approaching Madame Yang. He Xiu had heard that Madame Yang doted on Jiyu Yundong very much. Even if she was a fool, she would protect her daughter. Therefore, it was definitely not a problem for her to encourage Madame Yang to bring the hairpin back. Of course, she had already secretly taken out the hairpin and placed it somewhere easy to obtain. This way, Madame Yang would be a thief. Jiyu Yundong would definitely not be able to tell anyone about this. Otherwise, it would ruin her mother's reputation. That hairpin could not be used in the future. It could not be seen by everyone. It could only be hidden forever. As for Lan Hua, she would definitely find out that the hairpin was missing when she counted the dowry the next day. Considering how much she valued the Jiyu family, she definitely had to find this hairpin. Otherwise, it would be difficult for her to explain herself if the Jiyu family asked about it in the future. Of course, if she did not want to make a fuss, she still had him, right? She could still make a fuss by pushing him from behind. That fool, Madame Yang, might even shout it out herself. In that case, it would be strange if the Jiyu family and the Shi family could continue to be friends. Ha 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 ha, He Xiu couldn't help but laugh at the thought. And yet, she had a good plan, but that brat Lu Hongxiu had been following Madame Yang, so she had no way to do anything. He Xiu was a little anxious. If this continued, Jiyu Yundong and the rest would finish their banquet. After a while, her eyes suddenly darted around. She simply pulled a girl about her age along and joined the children in playing. The children were stunned for a moment, but Madame Yang was very happy. After all, these children were shorter than her. She was overjoyed that the two newcomers were as tall as her. Lu Hongxiu, who was standing at the back, narrowed her eyes slightly. She was not following Madame Yang. As long as Madame Yang was in her line of sight, there was nothing to worry about. She just felt that this girl who suddenly appeared beside Madame Yang was strange. Lu Hongxiu was meticulous, so she paid more attention. Soon, she realized that this girl would come to Madame Yang's side from time to time and mutter. She looked like she was joking, but the scheme in her eyes could not be hidden from her. After all, He Xiu was inexperienced. It was not enough to play tricks in front of Lu Hongxiu. Lu Hongxiu did not know what she wanted to do and could only watch. However, she still called her sister, Lu Hongqiao, over and asked her to inform Miss Jiyu Yundong had already finished eating, but she could not leave halfway. In addition, the person at the table had been talking to her, so she could only continue to sit. Unexpectedly, Lu Hongqiao ran over and secretly told her that someone had designs on Madame Yang. Jiyu Yundong narrowed her eyes. TSK, someone actually had designs on her mother again. Last time, there was Jiang Yongkang. Who was so blind this time? She just didn't know if they wanted to harm her mother or if they wanted her help. Jiyu Yundong got up, informed Shi Dashan and his wife, and followed Lu Hongqiao out. Lu Hongxiu was standing outside the door. When she saw her, she hurriedly called out, "Miss." "Yes, how's my mother?" "Who's the person who approached her?" Unexpectedly, Lu Hongxiu had a strange expression on her face. She looked at Jiyu Yundong as if she wanted to say something but hesitated. Jiyu Yundong raised her eyebrows and looked forward, but she did not see Madame Yang. "Where's my mother?" She frowned. Lu Hongxiu was not with Madame Yang. "It's her over there. I'll bring Miss over." As Lu Hongxiu spoke, she led Jiyu Yundong to a corner not far away. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 964. I squeezed it back before she reached the corner of the wall. She heard begging sounds coming from inside. The voice wasn't loud. When she got closer, she could vaguely hear the words, "Stop hitting me." "Hit." Jiyu Yundong frowned and turned to look at Lu Hongxiu. The latter nodded and said, "It's the girl called He Xiu." Jiyu Yundong took a few steps forward and turned the corner. He saw a few children surrounding a girl, their little fists landing on her. Yunshu snorted. "Who asked you to bully my mother? Do you think we're blind? How dare you be so unscrupulous in front of me? It'll be unfilial if I don't hit you." "Yes, unfilial." Yunka swung her fist and hit He Xiu's shoulder hard. It was just that her position was not very good, and her own hand hurt to death. The little girl immediately changed her leg and kicked her. He Xiu had a ball of cloth in her mouth and was trying hard to spit it out. She finally shook it off and quickly said, "Let go of me quickly, or I'll call for help." At this moment, her hand was pressed back by Madame Yang. Madame Yang was very strong. She was used to doing farm work in the past. Now that her family's conditions were better, she still liked to do it, especially those potted plants. It took a lot of strength to move them around. There was nothing wrong with restraining a little girl like He Xiu. As for the children surrounding He Xiu, other than Yunshu, Yunke, and Yuanji, there were also Zheng Yu, Zheng Le, and Niu Dan from the Zheng family. However, Only Yunshu and the other two attacked. The others acted as a wall and surrounded Hsiao. The corners of Jiyu Yundong's mouth twitched. After watching silently for a while, she finally said, "What happened?" The few of them turned around at the same time. Madame Yang couldn't help but loosen her grip. Hsiao immediately took the opportunity to escape and took 2 steps back. Now that her hands and feet were free, Hsiao immediately said, "Miss Jiyu, you saw it with your own eyes. I was blocked here by your mother and your brother and sister. Look at my clothes. They're all footprints from their kicks. My body hurts to death. If I walk out now, others will know that they're bullying me with numbers. I'm afraid your Jiyu family's reputation will be ruined." Oh, the guilty party was the first to complain. Jiyu Yundong found it funny. "Why did they hit you? What else could it be? Naturally, they flew into a rage out of humiliation because I didn't give in to your mother when we were playing." "Nonsense." Yunshu immediately retorted. She said to Jiyu Yundong, eldest sister, "She has ulterior motives. She actually wanted to instigate mother to steal. She has evil intentions. We can't let her off easily." "I didn't," Hsiao immediately retorted. Madame Yang snorted heavily. "Yes, you did. You told me yourself. You said that you wanted me to take back the hairpin Dong gave to Lena. That belongs to Dong. You even know where the hairpin is." As she spoke, she looked at Jiyu Yundong and said proudly, "She still treats me as a 3-year-old child. How could I fall for such a trick?" Jiyu Yundong nodded. "Mother is the best." Madame Yang agreed. "That's right. Dong said that what she gave away belongs to someone else. How can I take it back? That's called going back on your word and being despised. How can I let Dong be despised? So I rejected her very firmly. I didn't expect, she actually called me a fool and even pinched me." Yunka raised her hand. "I saw it, so I pinched her back." "I pinched her back too," Madame Yang said impatiently. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 965, Big Sister is Right. Yunshu and Yuanji, who were standing at the side, also nodded vigorously. "We've all pinched her back." Jiyu Yundong, Big Sis said that we can't be quiet when we're being bullied, especially when the situation is advantageous to us. There are so many of us, and we're on our own territory. I'm also a future martial arts expert. There's no reason for me to not retaliate when someone attacks, right? Yunshu had always treated Jiyu Yundong's words as a wise saying, and he carried it out very thoroughly. As for martial arts master, this was something he had self-proclaimed. Ever since the accident that almost cost Tongan his life, Yunshu had been very active in practicing martial arts with him. Yuanji was the same. However, while Yunshu was very good at studying, his talent in martial arts was really ordinary. Still, he was very hardworking and firmly believed that he would definitely be an expert in the future. Jiyu Yundong nodded. "You're right." As expected of what she had taught him. It was very good. However, Hsiao, who was at the side, almost vomited blood. Indeed, she had only pinched Madame Yang, but that was not serious. It was not heavy at all and did not hurt her. In the end, these brats had pinched her arm until it was bruised. Even now, she still felt a dull pain. What was worse was that not only did they push her into this corner, but they also taught her a lesson. Hsiao was filled with regret. Madame Yang was not an ordinary fool. Jiyu Yundong looked at Hsiao. "So, you want to scheme against my mother, right? And I gave that hairpin to Lan Huara. It should have gone to the Jiang family with Lan Huara now. Why is it still here? Did you steal it?" Hsiao's heart skipped a beat and she quickly looked up. Unexpectedly, she met Jiyu Yundong's sharp gaze and immediately defended herself. "I didn't, Miss Jiyu. Do you believe what they say? The children just don't like me and are messing with me. I've never said anything about a hairpin. Never. If you don't believe me, look at your mother. Do you see any traces of me pinching her?" After saying that, she wanted to walk out. "Forget it, I won't argue with the children. I'm unlucky. Can I leave?" Hsiao wanted to leave before Jiyu Yundong could react. Unfortunately, just as she turned around, Tong Shuidao stood behind her. Immediately after, Jiyu Yundong's faint voice sounded from behind. "You're a guest of the Shi family. You clearly know the relationship between the Shi family and my family, but you still want to use that hairpin to frame my family. You have a grudge with the Shi family and want to sow discord, right? Tell me, where is that hairpin?" He Xiu's expression changed. She wanted to leave, but her path was blocked. She wanted to defend herself, but Jiyu Yundong seemed to have guessed her intentions. She rolled her eyes and immediately wanted to shout at the top of her lungs, "Help!" Before she could finish speaking, Jiyu Yundong struck her from behind and knocked her out. Tong Shuidao caught her and asked Jiyu Yundong, "Miss, how should we deal with this? This is a guest of the Shi family, and the Shi family's banquet isn't over yet. Take her home first. Later, call Shi Dashan and the others over and see what they plan to do." "Yes." After Tong Shuidao finished speaking, she carried He Xiu back to the Jiyu family as if she was carrying a dead person. The Shi family's banquet was at noon. At this moment, they were almost done eating. Other than a few women from the same village who helped, only their close relatives were still there. The sister-in-law of the He family was there, but she could not find He Xiu at this moment. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 966, Crying from Her Foolishness. The He family's parents also came, but they had something to do at home. They quickly went back after eating, leaving the He family's eldest sister-in-law to find He Xiu and bring her back. However, now that He Xiu could not be found, she immediately became anxious and quickly went to look for Shi Dashan and his wife. It was at this moment that Tong Shuidao came to the door and told them about He Xiu. When Shi Dashan heard that He Xiu had actually schemed against Madame Yang to ruin his daughter's marriage, he was furious. He quickly went to the Jiyu residence with his wife, He Yi, and brought the He family's eldest sister-in-law along. The He family's eldest sister-in-law was dumbfounded. She only found out what had happened from He Yi on the way to the Jiyu family. She was so angry that she almost collapsed. She wished she could turn around and go home quickly so that her in-laws could take her sister-in-law away. What was going on? Was He Xiu's brain damaged? It was fine if she caused trouble for the Shi family. After all, He Yi was her aunt. If she made a mistake, she could put the matter behind her. But she actually had designs on the Jiyu family to scheme against Madame Yang. Over the course of the day, the He family's eldest sister-in-law had heard everything about the Jiyu family. She knew that the Jiyu family had fled from the famine and that her family was the richest in the entire village. She knew that Jiyu Yundong had dared to tie someone to a tree and slap them before she had her current achievements. She knew that Jiyu Yundong knew the nobles in the prefecture. There were too many rumors about the Jiyu family. How could He Xiu provoke such a person who could subdue a hooligan like Zhuangzi? They did not even dare to offend Zhuangzi. How could they have the courage to offend Jiyu Yundong? She was simply about to cry from her sister-in-law's stupidity. However, even though the dissatisfaction in her heart had reached its peak, the He family's eldest sister-in-law still had to bite the bullet and go to the Jiyu family to bring her out. Coincidentally, when they arrived at the Jiyu residence, He Xiu had also woken up. When she saw the He family's sister-in-law, she immediately cried and defended herself. However, the He family's eldest sister-in-law clearly did not believe her words and she did not know what to do. Jiyu Yundong's ears hurt from the noise. She frowned and said, "All right, shut up. You said you're innocent, right? That's simple. There are many people coming and going in the Shi family today. There are many guests. Someone must have seen you hide the hairpin. I'm not afraid of trouble. Later, find everyone. I'll ask them one by one. Someone will be able to tell me the truth." He Xiu immediately did not dare to speak. When she hid the hairpin, she had really met a few people. Also, someone had seen the hairpin in her hand before, but they did not look at it very carefully. Moreover, that person was not in Lan Hua's room at that time. He did not know that Jiyu Yundong had given Lan Hua a hairpin to add makeup, so he did not suspect anything. However, if the matter really blew up and those people associated everything, what could they not understand? Her reputation would be completely ruined. He Xiu was silent. Everyone present knew that she had tacitly agreed. He Yi was very angry. She had an honest personality, but no matter how honest she was, she had a reverse scale. Lan Hua was one. This person actually wanted to cause trouble on Lan Hua's wedding day and even stole the hairpin to frame Madame Yang. Not only did she want to harm Lan Hua, but she also wanted to harm Zhuangzi. He Yi pounced over and started punching He Xiu. Are you human? Are you human? You're so young, but you're so vicious. I don't have a niece like you. Shi Dashan was also angry, but this was He Yes' niece. He was only a remote relative, so it was not appropriate for him to make a move. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 967, different from what I thought. Hence, only the eldest daughter-in-law of the He family went up to stop her. Aunt, calm down first. It's indeed He Xiu's fault. Can you get her to apologize to you? He Xiu dodged twice but failed. She wanted to retaliate, but she was glared at by the He family's sister-in-law. Coupled with Shi Dashan's shout, she allowed He Yi to hit her again. When He Yi was pulled away, Jiyu Yundong asked, Uncle Shi, how do you plan to deal with this matter? Shi Dashan and He Yi looked at each other. How should they deal with it? To be honest, they could not do anything to He Xiu. After all, they were all relatives. In addition, Lan Hua had gotten married smoothly. They could just take the hairpin back. However, she still couldn't calm down. Therefore, He Yi looked at He Xiu fiercely and said, I won't have a niece like you in the future. From now on, don't come to my house again. My house doesn't welcome you. He Xiu lowered her head and secretly pursed her lips. If she was not welcomed, so be it. Who cared? Anyway, the Shi family couldn't do anything to her. He Xiu was a little smug. She pulled the He family's sister-in-law. Let's go. Since we're done, let's go home. I'm in so much pain. Jiyu Yundong smiled. Who said you can leave? The Shi family has been done, but I'm not done here. Jiyu Yundong naturally had no control over what the Shi couple wanted to do. Moreover, with their temperaments, that was the most they could do. However, she did not know what Zhuangzi would do after he returned from the Jiang family. You're not done yet. My body is covered in bruises from your beatings. What else do you want? Do you want me to lose an arm or a leg? He Xiu was furious. She was about to reveal her arm and let others see her injury. However, there were men present. The He family's eldest sister-in-law quickly pressed her down. Jiyu Yundong smiled and said, You were the one who pinched my mother first, so we returned it to you. But it's not so easy to get over the fact that you schemed against my mother. These are two different things, okay? He Xiu had never seen such a shameless person. What do you want? Jiyu Yundong looked at Madame Yang. Mother, she schemed against you. What do you want to do? Madame Yang was a little confused. Yunshu and Yunke immediately went to her side to give her ideas. After a long while, Madame Yang finally decided. She said seriously, I want her to stand at our door and shout him a big fool 3 times. Jiyu Yundong, so you guys discussed for so long and came to this conclusion? At least ask her for compensation for mental damage, right? But seeing that Madame Yang, Yunshu, and Yunke seemed quite satisfied, Jiyu Yundong could only rub her forehead and agree. He Xiu screamed, Are you guys crazy? I'm not going. If she did as she was told, how would she have any face in the future? Yongfu village was not far from her village. Later, all the villagers would know. How could she get married? Jiyu Yundong did not care. If you don't do it, then prepare to go back without an arm or a leg. You're going too far. Don't do things whose consequences are unbearable. If she had not targeted Madame Yang first, Jiyu Yundong would not have known who she was. He Xiu was unwilling. The He family's eldest sister-in-law quickly pulled her to the side to persuade her. After a long time, He Xiu finally nodded with a red face and trembling body. As expected, she ran to the entrance of the Jiyu residence and shouted 3 times. Then, before the onlookers could appear, she quickly ran away. Madame Yang, Yunshu, and Yunke were speechless. Why was it different from what they had imagined? Shouldn't there be many people watching the show? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 968, Compensation. Yundong wanted to laugh. She shrugged and said, "This is your choice. Now, they should know that when they wanted to punish others in the future, they should consider it carefully, right?" Aunt he had left, but Yundong had also found out the whereabouts of the hairpin from He Xiu. She said to Dajiang and his wife, "The hairpin is hidden under the bed in Lan Hua's room. You should be able to find it when you go back. If you find it, bring it over. It's not easy for you to go to the Jiang family. I'll get Shuidao to make a trip and come back with my father and the others. It won't attract anyone's attention." "Thank you, boss." Yundong waved her hand. Dajiang and his wife were still a little ashamed. After all, it was their relatives who caused this. If not for the Jiu family's bright minds, they would have really suffered. The two of them quickly returned home. There were still some guests at home, so they stayed behind to help eat dinner. While Dajiang was entertaining them, he found the hairpin and rushed to the Jiu residence. Just like that, a small storm subsided until Zhuangzi returned. He came back very late. As the brother-in-law, he had to stay at the Jiang family's wedding banquet after sending her off. He was forced to drink a lot and was dizzy. He only woke up the next day. Unexpectedly, when he woke up and heard his parents mention the hairpin, he exploded on the spot. After washing his face, Zhuangzi went straight to the He family. He was not someone to be trifled with, especially when it came to the He family, who did not treat them as family at all. He kicked over the basket in the He family's courtyard. Then, he asked He Xiu for compensation, but the He family refused. Uncle He even scolded Zhuangzi for being unfilial and disrespectful to his elders. Zhuangzi almost broke his hand. In any case, his sister was already married, and he was not in a hurry to get married. He did not care about reputation at all. He directly started fighting with his uncle. Uncle He was no match for him at all. In the end, the others in the He family could only give him one tael of silver as compensation. Zhuangzi took the silver and even stole an old hen in the courtyard before he left. "This is to calm my parents down. Who asked He Xiu to scare them yesterday? You." Uncle He was so angry that he almost vomited blood. "In the future, the He family will have nothing to do with your mother. We won't be relatives anymore. We'll sever our ties." Zhuangzi sneered. "I can't wait. Who cares about you guys?" He had long wanted to cut ties with them. Ever since the two elders of the He family passed away, Uncle He had treated it as if he did not exist. When the Shi family was in trouble, the He family had cut ties with them long ago. They had not interacted with each other for more than 10 years. What was the difference from cutting ties? Now that Zhuangzi's family had become rich, they started to rush over to take advantage of them. It was better not to have such relatives. Zhuangzi took the silver and carried the old hen home. When he told his parents about this, Dajiang had the same thoughts as Zhuangzi. However, He's eyes were red and she felt very uncomfortable. No matter what, that man was her biological brother. Now that she had come this far, she felt as if she had been alone when she came to this world. Zhuangzi scratched his head. He did not know how to comfort her, so he simply left the house. He left the old hen behind and went to the Jiu family with the tael of silver. "Boss, the He family compensated you with this silver. Take it." Yundong glanced at the silver and took it. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 969, Zhuangzi's decision. Zhuangzi scratched his head and said, "There's one more thing." "What is it?" Zhuangzi found it difficult to speak. He could not help but scratch his head again, as if he was organizing his words appropriately. Yundong did not rush him. He went about his own business. After nearly 15 minutes, Zhuangzi took a deep breath and said, "Boss, I think I want to bring my parents to the prefectural city too." Yundong was stunned. "Bring your parents with you?" "Yes." Once he opened his mouth, it was much easier to continue. I've asked around. The rent for a slightly smaller house in the prefecture capital is about 1 to 2 taels a month. When I live with Jiang Bao, the rent is originally half each. If I bring my parents over together, I'll pay a little more. That's right, that way, my parents won't be able to continue working in the boss orchard. This was also the reason why he had been hesitating and did not know how to speak. Jiyu Yundong's fingers tapped lightly on the table. She looked up at Zhuangzi and asked, "Did you make this decision because of the He family?" Zhuangzi said, "Half and half. One reason is that the He family is not easy to get along with. If I leave, they might cause trouble again. You know my parents. They might hold it in when they are bullied. If we can take a step back, we will. The other reason is that after Lan Huara is married, it won't be easy for her to come home. There's a long journey to the prefectural city, and I can only come back once every year and a half. I'm afraid that they'll be alone at home. It won't feel good." Jiyu Yundong smiled. Zhuangzi was indeed a filial person. Although his previous actions were repulsive, after he became a hooligan, he did not let Shadashan and his wife continue to be bullied and taken advantage of. She thought for a moment. There's no big problem with the fruit forest. Just let Zhao Zhu manage it. If he can't handle it, just hire more helpers. However, have you calculated your cost if you have to bring your parents to the prefectural city? Other than the rent of the house, there's also food and clothing. It's not easy for you to earn money alone to support 3 people in the prefectural city. Zhuangzi was vexed. He had calculated this cost before. It was indeed a little difficult. At the very least, it would be difficult for him to save money again. Jiyu Yundong continued, "Also, have you thought about it? Your parents like to plant and take care of fruit trees. This is something they like. If they are brought to the prefectural city and can only stay at home all day to cook, wash, and chat with others, will they live comfortably?" Zhuangzi's body stiffened. Yes, that was the biggest problem. Update T by Novk 0. C0 He wanted his parents not to work too hard and enjoy life, but he also wanted them to do what they liked to do. However, how could anyone get all the good things in this world? Zhuangzi immediately felt conflicted. In that case, he couldn't bring his parents to the prefectural city. Could it be that he would continue to stay in the county city as a shopkeeper and let Chen Jinsai go to the prefectural city to be a shop assistant? However, he had already promised his boss that everything had been arranged. There was no reason for him to go back on his word. Seeing that a large amount of hair on his forehead was about to be pulled off, Jiyu Yundong smiled and said, "I have an idea here. Do you want to hear it?" "Yes, of course." Zhuangzi's eyes suddenly lit up. The boss was smart. Her idea would definitely be the best of both worlds. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 970, Let's Go Together. Jiyu Yundong said, "We have a manor on the outskirts of the prefectural city. It's used to grow fruit trees and medicinal herbs. Your parents like to grow fruits, so it's just right to go there." In her opinion, Shadashan and his wife were the best at planting trees. Last time, she had also walked around the manor. Although those fruit trees were growing well, the taste of the fruits could not compare to the ones planted by Shadashan and his wife. She could tell if she ate a few. However, such technical talents could only be chanced upon by luck. If Shadashan and his wife went to the manor, it would be a good idea. With Zhao Zhu here, he would interact more with Shadashan and have a certain amount of experience in taking care of fruit trees. Letting Shadashan and his wife leave at this time would not result in a bad outcome. That farmstead is outside the city, and there's a place to stay in it. If you want to see your parents, you'll be there soon after leaving the city. It's much closer than Yongfu village. The more Zhuangzi listened, the brighter his eyes became. Yes, yes. If it was just outside the city, it would be equivalent to the distance from the county to home. It was no different from now. Moreover, their parents could continue to do what they liked. Zhuangzi felt that there was no better idea than this. He immediately thanked Jiyu Yundong again and again. "Thank you, boss. Boss, you're the best boss in the world. I'll definitely be loyal to you for the rest of my life and work for you. Really? Jiyu Yundong, no need to go that far. Had he been with Jiang Bao for too long? Had he even learned how to flatter? Zhuangzi chuckled. Jiyu Yundong waved her hand. All right, hurry up and go back. You have to discuss this with your parents first and get their consent. All right, I'll go back now. After saying that, he jumped and turned to run out of the Jiyu residence. That day, Zhuangzi did not come again. The next day was the day Lan Hua returned home. Jiang Bao brought her back. After lunch at the She residence, the entire family came to the Jiyu residence. Jiyu Yundong watched as Lan Hua combed her hair into a woman's bun and smiled shyly. From time to time, she would look into Jiang Bao's eyes. The romance between a young couple was vividly displayed. It seemed like she had been living quite well these few days. The interaction between the two was so sweet that Zhuangzi could not take it anymore. He rubbed his arms and quickly got down to business. Boss, we've already discussed it. My parents have decided to go to the manor on the outskirts of the prefectural city. They'll pack up in the next few days and come with us. Jiyu Yundong nodded. This was also within her expectations. She Dashan and his wife did not have any particularly good friends in the village. In the past, they spent most of their time in the fields or at home. Especially at that time, Zhuangzi was a hooligan, so no one interacted with this family. Later on, they started to make friends, but they did not have good friends, so they did not feel reluctant. Also, Zhuangzi continued, although my parents will live in the manor in the future, Jiang Bao and I still plan to rent a house outside together. After all, Lan Hua is going to the prefecture capital with us. If Lan Hua did not go, he and Jiang Bao could live in the courtyard at the back of the shop. That would be convenient. Now that he was bringing Lan Hua along, it was not appropriate. Anyway, they were a family, so they might as well rent a house outside. Jiyu Yundong's face lit up. Is Lan Hua truly going there? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 971, Unexpected News. Yes. Lan Hua nodded in embarrassment. Logically speaking, she should have stayed at home to take care of her in-laws. However, Jiang Bao insisted on taking her away. They were newlyweds, and he did not want them to be separated. What was the difference between that and not being married? Although Jiang Bao's parents were a little unhappy, Jiang Bao was the most promising person in the family now. In addition, Jiang Bao's words were pleasant and he promised to give more money to the family. His parents did not force Lan Hua to stay at home. However, since Lan Hua had gone to the prefectural city, they would get the couple to quickly give birth to a child. Jiang Bao agreed immediately. In any case, he had achieved his goal. Jiyu Yundong laughed. Since you're also going to the prefectural city, do you want to consider becoming a female worker at New Tea Pavilion? Everyone fell silent and looked at Jiyu Yundong in shock. The name New Tea Pavilion was not unfamiliar to them. Although they had never seen it with their own eyes, they knew that this was a shop opened by the boss in the prefectural city. It was specially used to entertain female guests. The shopkeepers, chefs, and waiters inside were all female. Now, the boss actually wanted to hire Lan Hua as a female worker. This, Lan Hua became excited. Can I really go? Of course you can. I've wanted to find you for a long time. However, you wanted to get married previously. After you got married, I wasn't sure if you wanted to stay at home or go to the prefectural city, so I didn't say anything. Now that it's confirmed, I naturally have to ask if you're willing. Yes, of course I'm willing. As a female worker, she could earn more money. Now that she had her own small family, she would have her own children in the future. She had heard that everything in the prefectural city was expensive. If she had to rely on Jiang Bao alone to support her and her children and provide for her parents, how much pressure would that be? Hence, she had already thought about it. When she arrived at the prefectural city, she would do more embroidery to cover for the family's expenses. Although it was not much, he could at least help Jiang Bao share some of the burden. He would not be too flustered if he had some money. Unexpectedly, Before she could go to the prefectural city, her boss gave her a huge surprise. It was just, "Boss, can I do it well? I don't know anything. Will I mess it up for you? If you don't know anything, then learn. Everyone learns everything from nothing." Jiyu Yundong felt that with Lan Hua's smartness, she was definitely much better than that Xiaoyi from before. "I'll bring you to meet Su Qing later. She already has experience. If you have any questions later, just ask her." Okay. The matter was settled just like that. The Shi family was very happy. Jiang Bao brought Lan Hua home and did not mention this to his parents. They had agreed on how much money to give the family. What if the brothers at home were unhappy because Lan Hua had an extra salary and wanted him to give an extra? Jiang Bao was planning for himself. In the next few days, the Shi family and the Jiang family began to prepare to go to the prefectural city. Jiyu Yundong handed over the fruit trees that the Shi family was in charge of to Zhao Zhu. Zhao Zhu was very happy. The more he managed, the more capable he was. However, he had already started to hand over some to his son. Gosheng was also becoming more and more diligent. The relationship between the father and son had taken a huge step forward compared to before, and many of the knots in his heart were slowly untied. 5 days later, the Shi family and Jiang Bao with his wife placed their luggage in the carriage and prepared to head to the prefectural city. Jiyu Yundong had to go with her. After all, she had not been to the prefectural city since the new year. She had to look at the account book and send red packets after the new year. She had to explain things clearly. Unexpectedly, just as they were about to set off, they heard an unexpected piece of news. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 972. The Li family's second branch, the niece of the Shi family, He Xiu, was engaged. Moreover, the person she was engaged to was from Yongfu village. The Shi family was a little stunned. What was the He family thinking? The two families had just fallen out, and the He family wanted to marry their daughter here. What kind of family was so attractive to He Xiu? Jiyu Yundong asked around and got an answer. Her expression immediately became strange. It was actually the Li family. The son of the second branch of the Li family. Jiyu Yundong did not have a good impression of the Li family, but she hated the first branch of the Li family the most. Although the second and third branches turned a blind eye to Shao Qingyuan's experiences when he was young and were dissatisfied with old Master Li doting on Shao Qingyuan, they did not persecute him too much. Therefore, Jiyu Yundong only treated them as strangers. Ever since she and Shao Qingyuan caused a scene in the Li family last time, the Li family's first branch did not dare to make a sound. They were like invisible people in the village and did not dare to approach the Jiyu family at all. It was said that they still did not dare to walk on the main road that she had built. This was also good. Only when they were afraid would they behave themselves. As for the second and third branches, they did not have much of a grudge with the Jiyu family. Although they were a little afraid, they wanted to earn money. Last time, they wanted to work in the Jiyu family's workshop, but they were rejected by Tongan in the first round. She really did not expect the son of the second branch to be with He Xiu of the He family. When He heard this, she sighed slightly. Forget it. She has nothing to do with us anymore. It doesn't matter who she marries. Anyway, we're going to the prefectural city. We won't have many chances to meet them in the future. The Shi family members nodded. Zhuangzi was glad that he had made the decision to bring his parents to the prefectural city. Otherwise, with his parents' personality, they might have been schemed against by He Xiu. After all, she was so bold that she even dared to touch Madame Yang. If that was the case, Zhuangzi would definitely prevent her from marrying into Yongfu village. The group quickly forgot about He Xiu and went to the prefectural city happily. When they arrived at the Xuanhe prefecture, it was already late. Jiyu Yundong asked everyone to go to the small courtyard to rest. They would go to the shop tomorrow to arrange work. There were not many people in the small courtyard, and there was already a lot of dust. Fortunately, the Shi family, Jiang Bao, and the others were diligent people. After cleaning up for a while, they could stay. Dinner was easy to settle. When Shi Dashan came, He had brought a lot of vegetables that he had picked from the side of the house. Now, they were filled in 2 big boxes. They could easily make some meals. He Yi and Lan Hua went to the kitchen to work. Jiyu Yundong took this opportunity to knock on the door of the neighbor's house with a caddy of white sugar, 2 cans, and a few pastries. There was a family of 5 living here. The owner's surname was Wang, and the Wang family's son was also studying at Tianhai Academy. He had become familiar with Jiyu Dajiang, and the 2 of them often discussed knowledge together and went to the academy together. When the Jiyu family returned to Yongfu village, there was no one in the small courtyard, so they asked the Wang family to help take care of it. Now that Jiyu Yundong was back, she naturally had to thank him. When the Wang family saw that she had brought over a lot of things, they quickly declined. Jiyu Yundong said, "I have to go back after staying here for a few days. I still have to ask you to take care of the house. If you don't accept the gifts, I won't be able to continue troubling you." The Wang family was speechless and accepted the items. But just as Jiyu Yundong was about to leave, Mother Wang suddenly pulled her back and looked mysterious. "If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 973, Someone is looking for you Yundong, let me tell you. When your family was not around, someone came a few times and kept wandering around your house. I don't know what he was doing. I asked a few questions, and she asked me when your family would come back. Jiyu Yundong was stunned. Her first reaction was to wonder if youngest Uncle Jiyu had been found. But on second thought, if it was youngest Uncle Jiyu, he must have gone to Aunt Ku's place. He wouldn't have come to the small courtyard directly. She was a little disappointed. She calmed herself down and asked, "Who was it? What did she look like?" "It's just a young woman. She's been here several times. She's been especially diligent these past 2 days." "Oh, right, when she came yesterday, there was a young lady beside her." Jiyu Yundong searched her mind. A young woman with a young girl, who knew the address of her small courtyard. That could only be Xiao Yuan and her mother. Jiyu Yundong described the appearance of the mother and daughter to Mother Wang, who nodded repeatedly. That's right, that's right. It's them." "Yundong, do you know them?" "Yes, I know them. They might be looking for our family for something. I'll go over and take a look tomorrow." Then, Jiyu Yundong took her leave. Early the next morning, Jiyu Yundong brought the Shi family to Gus and met Zhang. Gus was as busy as ever. Fortunately, there were 2 employees and there was a break. Zhuangzi's eyes lit up when he saw the shop. He secretly said to Jiang Bao, "Indeed, I made the right choice to come to the prefectural city. Look at how big this shop is and how good the business is. The prefectural city is so prosperous. In the future, becoming the shopkeeper of this prefectural city will be my goal." Jiang Bao also raised his head and looked around. Compared to the prefectural city, the difference was too great. He had just walked all the way from the small courtyard. The crowd on this street was not something the county city could compare to. As for Gus, not only were there many people coming and going, but the customers were also very generous. Other than white sugar, there was no restriction on buying preserved fruit jam, so there were especially many people buying it. No wonder the Jiyu family's workshop wanted to hire so many people to rush the production. At this moment, be it Jiang Bao, Zhuangzi, or even Lan Hua, they were filled with fighting spirit. Now, there were 2 shop assistants in the shop. One was Shu, and the other was Su Changshan. Shu was originally a temporary worker. Now that Zhuangzi was here, he was finally free. Speaking of which, he preferred to run around and did not like to stay in a shop and be busy. Jiyu Yundong called Su Changshan over and introduced him to Zhuangzi. "From now on, you will both be the shop assistants in this shop. Get to know each other first. You have to get along well and help each other." Su Changshan was honest, but he still nodded excitedly. On the other hand, Zhuangzi was very adaptable. After all, he had been a shopkeeper before. He instantly chatted with Su Changshan. Jiyu Yundong then distributed this year's open business red packets and told Zhang about the shop's business. Then, they went to Shao Qingyuan's pharmacy. Jiang Bao already knew Dr. Xiong. He was also familiar with Zhu in the shop. In addition, he was smart and quickly integrated into the pharmacy team. Jiyu Yundong would not ask Dr. Xiong about the pharmacy. After all, he was focused on studying medicine. However, with Zhu around, it was enough for her to know the situation of the shop. Finally, Jiyu Yundong brought He Yi and Lan Hua to New Tea Pavilion. New Tea Pavilion entertained the female guests, so Zhuangzi and the others stayed behind. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 974, Where's My Aunt Ku? With Madame Chiu at New Tea Pavilion, it had indeed improved greatly since her visit last time. At least the waiters wouldn't make a fuss anymore. Everything seemed to be in order. When Jiyu Yundong arrived, all of them stopped what they were doing and greeted her respectfully, Boss Jiyu. This Boss Jiyu was not to be trifled with at all. They still had a deep impression of what she had done in the shop last time. Whether it was the handling of the quarrel between the two madams or the small gifts given to every guest, it was still a hot topic. During this period of time, there were even customers who came from time to ask if there were any more paintings. They could directly spend money to buy them. It was said that all the husbands and brothers of these madams and young ladies wanted it. Unfortunately, there were no more paintings. Jiyu Yundong brought Lan Hua to Madame Chiu and said, Madame Chiu, didn't you say that this New Tea Pavilion is still short of people? This is Lan Hua. She's from the same village as me. She's smart and has a good image. Is there a problem with her helping in this New Tea Pavilion? Lan Hua quickly followed Jiyu Yundong's instructions. With a smile on her face, she greeted obediently, Hello, Madame Chiu. Madame Chiu nodded slightly and sized up Lan Hua, feeling slightly satisfied. She was still looking forward to the person Jiyu Yundong had found. At least, she was better than the people that Madame Dai and Nai Shuang had found. The waiters they brought were all servants who had signed a death contract in the residence. Admittedly, such loyal waiters would not be easily bribed. However, perhaps because they were used to being servants, they would subconsciously lower themselves when they met guests. Madame Chiu had to adjust them for a long time to change this bad habit. On the other hand, Su Qing did not have the cautious attitude of a servant. Although she also bent slightly in front of the guests, her back was straight. She even dared to raise her head in front of the guests. She was magnanimous and spoke smoothly. More importantly, she was also smart. As long as Madame Chiu gave her some pointers, she would be able to learn very quickly. She was the person Madame Chiu was most satisfied with. Now that Jiyu Yundong had sent over Lan Hua, Madame Chiu was already 50% satisfied when she saw the girl's refreshing appearance and clear eyes. All right, leave her behind. However, I have to say this first. If she can't satisfy me in half a month, I'll return her. Of course. We agreed that this New Tea Pavilion is now managed by you. Jiyu Yundong was confident in this. If Lan Hua was stupid, she would not have sent her over. Otherwise, wouldn't she be slapping herself in the face? Jiyu Yundong called Su Qing over and said to Lan Hua, This is Su Qing. Su Changshan, whom we met earlier, is her brother. She has been working in New Tea Pavilion for a long time. If you have anything you don't understand, just ask her. There are few customers now. Let Su Qing show you around the shop first. Okay. Lan Hua was a little excited. When she entered just now, she felt that this shop was very different. She was filled with curiosity and excitement. Jiyu Yundong let the two of them go alone, and He Yi followed. Then, she asked Madame Chiu about the situation at New Tea Pavilion. Madame Chiu, on the other hand, was very happy. It's very good. This milk tea shop, which is unique in the prefectural city, is very popular. If it weren't for the fact that the weather is cold and people are lazy and unwilling to go out, I'm afraid it would have been filled with people even if it was morning. Where's Aunt Ku? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 975, Looking for Eldest Aunt Ku was also helping out in the shop, but Jiyu Yundong hadn't seen her since her arrival. Madame Chiu waved her hand and lowered her voice. Sister Ku has gone to the capital. Jiyu Yundong was shocked. To the capital? Why? Did she go alone? When did she go? What happened? There were a lot of questions at once, and Madame Chiu could hear her anxiety and knew that she was very concerned about Aunt Ku. Therefore, she quickly said, she went there a few days ago. She and Nai Shuang went to the capital. It seemed to be about young Master Nai. Young Master Nai? Nai Tsong? Ever since she came to the prefectural city, she had not seen Nai Tsong again. Aunt Ku only said that he had been sent elsewhere by his father to train. So he had gone to the capital? Seeing that she was still frowning, Madame Chiu comforted her. Don't worry. I heard from Madame Dai that it shouldn't be a big deal, so you don't have to worry too much. Jiyu Yundong heaved a sigh of relief. Since Madame Dai said so, the problem must not be serious. She then asked about Madame Dai's situation and found out that she was not in the prefectural city either. It seemed that Dai Wanhua had escorted her to celebrate some old madame's birthday. Jiyu Yundong dispelled her plan to visit the Dai residence. Then, Madame Chiu told her about the major events that had happened in the prefectural city in the past few months. Jiyu Yundong had an idea. After she finished reading the account book, she planned to leave New Tea Pavilion. Jiyu Yundong still had to look for Xiao Yuan and her mother and ask them if there was anything urgent. She planned to go alone. It was not far from here. Therefore, she asked He Yi and her daughter to stay here. If they could help, they would help. Or they could see how others treated the guests. It was good to get used to it in advance. Then, Jiyu Yundong took Tong Shuidao and drove the carriage to Xingtao Street. She went to Xiao Yuan's house and knocked on the door. Fortunately, Madame Fan and Xiao Yuan were both at home. It seemed that they did not go to the flower market to sell flowers today. When Jiyu Yundong stepped through the door and realized that there were not many flowers in the courtyard, she understood. The weather was cold, and there were not many people in the flower market. There were also fewer flowers. When she saw Jiyu Yundong, Madame Fan quickly welcomed her. Miss Jiyu, you're all back. No, I'm the only one back. I still have to leave in a few days. I heard from the aunt next door that you and Xiao Yuan went to the small courtyard to look for our family. Is there anything wrong? Madame Fan nodded. There's indeed something I want to talk to your eldest aunt about. Looking for eldest aunt? Yes, eldest aunt went to the flower and bird market to sell wood carvings. The stall was adjacent to Madame Fan's. The two of them seemed to be quite compatible. It was said that they had a good relationship. Here it goes. Previously, your eldest aunt told me to help pay attention to whether there are any houses here for rent. Some time ago, a family's house on the street behind us happened to be empty. The house is not big, but the rent is all right. It costs 4 taels a month, so I went to the small courtyard to look for your eldest aunt. Madame Fan said, it's just that I haven't seen her come back. Moreover, 2 days ago, I saw someone bringing people to take a look at the house. It was because the other party was not satisfied with the price and wanted to lower the price, so there was a dilemma. I'm worried that if we wait a little longer, that house will be rented out. To be honest, it's not easy to find a house there. Although Xingtao Street was also a chaotic place, and there were local tyrants who would come out from time to cause trouble, its position was actually not bad. The rent for the places with slightly better security was expensive. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 976, Jiyu Dajiang participates in the county examination. Jiyu Yundong pursed her lips slightly. Eldest aunt Jiyu had told her and Jiyu Dajiang not long ago that she wanted to move out. Jiyu Dafeng was a strong-willed person. It was naturally not a problem for her to live in a small courtyard for a short period of time, but she could not live there forever. After all, this was the Jiyu family's house, and she had already married into the Bian family. There was no reason for her to stay at her younger brother's house with her husband and son. However, she did not have enough money on hand at the moment, so she could only find a cheaper and smaller place to rent. After getting to know Madame Fan, Eldest Aunt Jiyu heard from her that Qingtao Street was not bad and that there were acquaintances like Madame Fan and her daughter around, so she asked them to help keep an eye on it. She just didn't expect it to happen so quickly. But it was impossible for Jiyu Yundong to let Jiyu Dafeng move here now. Bian Han's legs had not recovered yet. If he moved out now, if he was not careful, the early treatment would all be in vain. Eldest aunt was going to sell wood carvings. If uncle was the only one at home, what if he accidentally fell? At the very least, they had to let him stand up on his own. Only then could he move out. In Jiyu Yundong's opinion, it would take at least half a year. Jiyu Yundong had said this to Jiyu Dafeng before. After some consideration, Jiyu Dafeng finally agreed to continue living in the small courtyard. However, she clearly did not have time to tell Madame Fan about this. This was a waste of Madame Fan's efforts. Wait a minute, Jiyu Yundong suddenly thought of Zhuangzi. Didn't they say that they were looking for a house? If they lived here, Zhuangzi and Jiang Bao could go to the shop with Su Changshan, and Su Qing could be with Lan Hua. The two women wouldn't have to worry too much. Everyone lived close to each other and could help each other. At the thought of this, Jiyu Yundong hurriedly said to Madame Fan, "Thank you for your kind intentions, Aunt. My eldest aunt won't rent a house here for the time being." Madame Fan was stunned for a moment before Jiyu Yundong continued, "But I do have someone who wants to rent a house. I'll get Shuidao to call them over. How about we take a look at that house later?" Madame Fan quickly nodded. Of course. Jiyu Yundong asked Tong Shuidao to bring Zhuangzi and the others back. When the Shi family arrived, Madame Fan brought them to the street at the back and found the owner. The owner looked at the large group of people and was shocked. He asked Madame Fan, "There are so many people living here?" "Of course not," Jiyu Yundong replied. "The three of them are the tenants. We're just here to take a look." The owner heaved a sigh of relief. His house was small. If he squeezed so many people in, it would make him feel like his house was about to be destroyed. These people were up to no good. The group of people entered the house and walked around. The house was indeed small and there were only 2 rooms. It was just right for Zhuangzi and Jiang Bao to have one each. However, the house was quite clean. Jiyu Yundong felt that it was not bad. Zhuangzi and the others were also quite satisfied. They even seemed a little excited. In the end, Jiyu Yundong helped bargain and rented it for 1.3 taels a month. After settling the matter of the house, Zhuangzi, Jiang Bao, and Lan Hua also did their own jobs and quickly got to work. 2 days later, Jiyu Yundong brought Shi Dashan and his wife to a manor in the suburbs and handed them over to Shui Zongguang. After they settled down, she returned to Yongfu village without stopping. 5 days later, the date of the county examination arrived. The Jiyu family woke up early in the morning. Jiyu Yundong even checked Jiyu Dajiang's things several times. Very good. The brush, ink, paper, and inkstone were all there. The 10 pieces of clothing were also put on. Everything was ready. The rest would depend on her father's luck. She hoped that nothing would happen to his position. However, things did not go as planned. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 977, Daughters Love. Outside the county examination hall, there were many people squeezing in. It was still early, and the sky was not completely bright. The temperature was low and very cold. Jiyu Dajiang couldn't help but heave a sigh of relief when he got out of the carriage. There were too many people, so the carriage could only stop a little further away and then they had to get down to walk. Jiyu Dajiang held a test basket in his hand. It was filled with many things that Jiyu Yundong had prepared for him. The group of people followed him in. Not long after, they saw Qin Wenjing standing not far away. Yi Junken and his family stood beside him. This time, only Yi Junken participated in the county examination in Qin Wenzheng's school. The 13-year-old youth was a little excited and nervous. His family even pulled him along and reminded him. Yi Junken quickly greeted Jiyu Dajiang. Qin Wenjing looked at the two of them and said, "The first round of the county examination isn't difficult. Most people who can read and write well will pass. As long as you're not too nervous and maintain a clean and tidy paper, it won't be a problem to pass. The examiner will naturally explain the rules of the examination hall to you later. Just do as you're told. Then, he lowered his voice and added, remember, you can't mention. Two of them nodded and carefully noted it down. Not long after, there was a sound in front of them. They were preparing to enter the venue after the body check. Dajiang and Yundong quickly walked forward and lined up at the back of the queue. There were many people participating in the county examination. There were hundreds of people in Fengkai County, so they were divided into several rows for body check. Dajiang stood at the back of the team and couldn't help but rub his nose. After all, he was considered rather old here. Most of the people who participated in the county examination were about the same age as Yundong. For someone like Dajiang, if he hadn't even passed the county examination, he would basically be recognized as not talented in studying. Most of them wouldn't take the examination again. Of course, there were also some who refused to give up. They were already so old and even had grandchildren, but they still refused to give up. Every year, such people participated in the county examination and would be pointed at and discussed softly. Now, Dajiang had become the subject of discussion. But, he was fearless. Fortunately, it wasn't long before it was his turn. Dajiang handed the examination basket to the guard and let others remove his coat with a calm expression. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The guard was speechless. Is this person crazy? He looked at Dajiang with a strange expression. The corners of his mouth twitched as he asked, how many clothes are you wearing? 10. Dajiang glanced at the shocked expressions of the people behind him from the corner of his eye. He coughed lightly and said, there's nothing I can do. My children are filial. They insist that the weather is still cold and the exam is quite stressful. If I accidentally catch a cold, won't all my previous efforts be in vain? I can't let them down. In the end, he even puffed out his chest. Don't worry, they're all thin clothes. It's obvious at a glance. There's no problem. The corners of the guard's mouth twitched as he glared at Dajiang in dissatisfaction. This was clearly increasing their workload. Hence, the examination basket had already been checked. They were still looking at Dajiang's shoes. However, when they saw Dajiang putting on his clothes again and warming up, the others who were watching the joke couldn't help but shiver. They were so cold. After checking, Dajiang walked in relaxed. After entering, they still had to queue up and wait for the county officials to call their names. There would also be a ritual. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 978, Failed the First Examination? After confirming everything, Dajiang walked in with his badge. However, the more he walked, the more hesitant he became. A faint smell that left a deep impression on him came from the tip of his nose. In the end, he stood in front of his examination booth with tears streaming down his face. Yundong, you jinx. His luck was indeed extraordinary. He was really next door to the toilet. Why aren't you going in yet? The guard behind looked over and asked with a frown. Dajiang chuckled in his heart. You already know the answer. Why don't I go in? Then why are you standing so far away? Why are you covering your nose when you ask? He wanted to take a deep breath, but after thinking about it, he decided not to. He even tried his best to slow down his breathing and slowly walked into the test shed. Fortunately, he had such experience before and was used to it, or maybe not. Dajiang couldn't help but curse. He quickly took out the examination basket, found 2 patches of ointment, and pasted them on his temples. This was what Yundong had asked the doctor to prepare. It could refresh the mind. Then, he took out a mask. This mask was very thin. It was only 2 pieces of cloth. There were 2 strings at the side that could pull the cloth together. After all, they had to do a body search before entering the venue. Yundong could not prepare too much for her father. 2 pieces of cloth were the limit. Then, Dajiang stuffed the dried flowers between the cloths and covered his mouth and nose. Indeed, He was much better. The guard not far away had a deep impression of Dajiang's 10 pieces of clothes, so he didn't leave just now. When he saw his actions, the corners of his mouth twitched. What's going on? Did he predict that he would be sitting beside the toilet, so he prepared so well in advance? But that wasn't all. Dajiang took out another small bottle and dripped 2 drops into every corner. In an instant, a fragrance spread in the surroundings. The surrounding examinees were speechless. Brother, thank you. Dajiang was finally ready, but when he thought about how there were still a few more rounds to go, he sighed inwardly. He was hesitating. After the first round, would he not take the next round? There were a total of 5 rounds of the county examination. The first round was the main event. Whether the candidates participated in the subsequent rounds was up to them. However, most of them would continue. Dajiang had planned to finish all 5 rounds from the beginning. He was extremely sad, but after receiving the test paper, he calmed down and began to answer the questions seriously. However, many students who were participating in the county examination for the first time were too nervous. Not long after, someone ran to the toilet with an upset stomach. Dajiang was speechless. This would affect his performance. Fortunately, he was fully armed. Coupled with the fact that the first round was not difficult, he focused on writing quickly. The first test consisted of 2 essays and 1 poem. The subjects and styles of the essays and poem were fixed. The entire volume could not exceed 700 words. It was indeed not difficult for Dajiang. At noon, Dajiang only ate some pastries and continued answering the questions. He should be the first to put down his brush. A guard noticed his situation and couldn't help but take a second look at him. After Dajiang finished writing, he put down his pen and paper and read it carefully twice. Then, he waited for the release. He finished answering early and was the first batch to leave. When he walked out, he realized that Yundong had also come out. His expression was very calm and there was no problem with it. On the other hand, Yundong was shocked when he saw Dajiang's conflicted expression. It was not the right time to ask him. After the 2 of them left the examination hall, Yundong asked cautiously, "Uncle Jiu, are you all right?" Could it be that he had failed the first round? If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 979, Too Tragic. Dajiang didn't feel too good. He felt that he had a smell on him. Didn't Yundong feel it when he stood beside him? Yundong saw his strange expression and thought that he really did not do well. He quickly comforted him. The county examination is held once a year. Many people are very nervous the first time they take the examination. But after all, after the first time, it won't happen again. Uncle Jiu, let's. Before he could finish speaking, Yundong and the others hurried over. Father, how are you? Are you all right? She did not ask about the results. After all, Yundong was very confident in her father. But when she saw Dajiang's expression, why did he look so listless? Before Dajiang could say anything, 2 candidates walked past him. They covered their noses and pointed at him with smiles. That's him. The test shed is by the latrine. It's him. That's too tragic. Look at him. He's so old. I reckon he has take the examination many times but never passed. This time, he was unlucky enough to be assigned to the toilet. There's definitely no hope this year. Isn't that so? Not long after noon, I looked up and realized that he had put down his brush. He must have given up on himself. It's too tragic. If it were me, I definitely wouldn't be able to take it and would vomit. Dajiang was speechless. If you want to discuss others, shouldn't you walk further away? Why did you stand beside me and not lower your voice at all? He glared at the 2 of them. The 2 examinees were shocked and quickly pulled each other away. He's angry from embarrassment. Let's go, let's go. Yundong's eyes flashed with disbelief. No, it couldn't be. Although she had made preparations, she did not expect the misfortune to really land on her father. The rest of the Jiu family also felt that Dajiang was too pitiful, But they should be comforting him at this time. Why did they want to laugh? Yi Zhongken's eyes widened even more. So, Uncle Ji did not look well because of the bad location of the examination hall? Then how did he do? Ji Yundong was the one who calmed down and suppressed the smile on her lips. She looked up and saw her father's angry expression. After a moment of silence, she sighed and patted his shoulder. Father, you have to thank me. Let's go home. At this moment, Dajiang only wanted to go back and take a shower. After bidding farewell to Qin Wenjing and Yi Zhongken, he left in a hurry. Ji Yundong and the others looked at each other and immediately followed him into the carriage. Almost everyone in Yongfu village knew that the head of the Ji family, Ji Dajiang, was going to participate in the county examination. All of them were looking forward to it. Some people hoped that he would pass, while others hoped that he would fail. However, no matter what they were thinking, there were many people waiting at the entrance of the village. When they saw the Ji family's carriage, they hurriedly ran forward and asked, Dajiang, how did you do? Dajiang, I heard that this county examination is very difficult. How did you do? It doesn't matter if you don't pass. It's held once a year. You can continue to take the exam next year. Anyway, your family can afford it. Ji Yundong frowned slightly. She lifted the curtain and said to the people outside, everyone, disperse. It's only the first round. How can you know the results so quickly after the exam? When will we know the result? Someone asked. After all, it had been a long time since an elementary scholar appeared in Yongfu village. They didn't even know how the county examination would be conducted. In about half a month. What? That long? Ji Yundong ignored everyone else and the carriage quickly returned to the Ji residence. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report so we can fix it as soon as possible.